Alrighty, welcome to episode 101 of Tokwa's Ask Us Anything. As usual, it's been a pretty busy news week. Tesla's long-term Senior Director of Artificial Intelligence, Andrej Karpathy, has announced on Twitter that he is amicably departing the company after a 5-year tenure. In his tweet, Karpathy explained that it's been a great pleasure to help Tesla towards its goals over the last 5 years and a difficult decision to part ways. In that time, Autopilot graduated from lane keeping to city streets, and I look forward to seeing the exceptionally strong Autopilot team continue that momentum. He went on to further tweet that, I have no concrete plans for what's next, but look to spend some more time revisiting my long-term passions around technical work in AI, open source, and education. Brandenburg's Landesamt für Umwelt, or State Office for the Environment, has confirmed that Tesla will be able to sell most of the restricted test production vehicles it produced under Giga Berlin's temporary construction permits, given to it before the Gigafactory gained full environmental approval earlier this year. Thomas Frey from the LFU stated, Tesla is free to process bodies that were created during the period of testing, the operational capability, and to sell them if they are marketable. First Tesla deliveries of Model Y are inching closer, with notifications going out to rear-wheel drive Model Y order holders, indicating delivery windows between about the 17th of August and the first week of September. Elon Musk is set to please many Tesla owners who are gaming enthusiasts by announcing on Twitter that Tesla is in the process of integrating the popular video game distribution service Steam, owned by gaming giant Valve, into the Tesla Arcade platform. The ACT government has announced a 2035 ban on the registration of new wholly fossil-fuelled and hybrid passenger cars. Territory Energy and Emissions Minister Shane Rattenbury stated, many people will replace their vehicles over the next 10 years. We're not going to take vehicles off the road, but we want to stop new petrol vehicles coming into the system to stop the problem getting worse. Then we can focus on transitioning those older vehicles out. Tesla have added a self-diagnostic feature to the smartphone Tesla app, whereby the car will perform diagnostics to confirm whether certain reported issues require a service visit. Self-diagnosis is triggered when booking a service request via the Tesla app and selecting an issue that may be able to be confirmed by internal diagnostic routines. This may then speed up the service process while potentially avoiding unnecessary service visits. Tesla Chair Robin Denholm has expressed bullish sentiments regarding Australia's Tesla uptake while speaking at the 2022 Australian Clean Energy Summit in Sydney yesterday. At the summit, she stated, we now have more than 26,500 Teslas on Australian roads, and the momentum is there. I personally wouldn't be surprised if we double that number by the end of the year. Should this sentiment hold true, Tesla will have delivered approximately 5,300 vehicles per month for the rest of this year. At the same 2022 Australian Clean Energy Summit, Robin Denholm explained that Australia's supercharging network is planned to undergo substantial expansion. Denholm explained, Tesla's ambition is to triple the supercharging network in the next 2 years, and the EV charging industry here in Australia is ready to make significant investments in building charging infrastructure. She did, however, express frustration with external factors that were hampering faster progress. Denholm lamented, we have the equipment, the capital, and increasingly the customers, but we're being held back. Fast charging stations require upgrades to the transformers on the energy grid. It isn't complicated from a technology point of view. The steps are known and it takes technicians just a few days, but currently it can take over a year from application to grid connection. That's 4 times longer than anywhere else in the region. To serve the growing number of EVs on the roads that need charging, these chargers need to be rolled out without delay. This is the missing piece to mass EV adoption. Tesla's Fremont car factory has produced its 2 millionth car this week. The red multi-coat performance Model 3 rolled off the production line 12 years since Tesla purchased the factory in 2010. US-based Tesla owner John Harris has tweeted construction plans showing details of Tesla's upcoming version 4 supercharger stalls. The new larger stalls have a similar configuration as Tesla urban supercharger stalls and feature a substantially longer cable than its existing standard stalls. This is expected to alleviate some of the issues non-Tesla EVs experience when charging at Tesla superchargers. It also provides more scope for enhanced cable cooling, which will allow for higher power levels to be delivered to cars that can accept it. And that was this week's news. Righty, and we're back. So if anyone's new, I'm going to call out Vinden. Welcome. Tell us about you and your car.
Hello, everyone. My name is Vinden. I've been following Teslas for a while. Finally pulled the plug. Oh, yeah, pulled the plug on it. Decided to get one. So initially, what was on order was a Model Y. So that was on the day that they opened. So we went, all right, you know what, we're going to do it. So we did a Model Y base model, black on black. So black wheels, the black color, and then the white interior. But then after watching a lot of the YouTube videos, making all my decisions for me, I saw a lot of people with big smiles on their faces when they drove the Performance Model Y. So we decided to go with the Performance instead. So we've got the pearl white with the white interior on order.
Also, you've got a Poverty Pearl white on white.
Yeah.
You've got a Polar Bear Performance.
Yeah. Yep.
Fantastic. Congratulations. So
Thank
unfortunately, you won't get the car probably until next year, early next year.
Yeah. So
But
when we spoke to the people at Tesla and Aussie Park, they said it's scheduled for March. So don't know whatever that, but yeah, March. That's okay. We're not in a rush. The sooner the better, obviously.
yeah, cool. I mean, you can obviously live through the experience vicariously through all of the rest of us in the room. So
Absolutely, that's the plan.
fantastic. Okay, is there anyone else that's new that would like to say hello, please? And the crowd roars, so I'll take that on notice for later. But if you want to say hello later on, you're more than welcome to do so. We might as well start off with questions. Has anyone got any questions tonight? No, we've got oh, yep, we've got someone.
I can throw one in.
Go, Shane.
I can throw one in. I did put this on the Facebook group, but I'm not quite sure that I made it work properly. My Spotify, I like to listen to a few podcasts that come out daily. And when I jump on my phone, there's a new episode on my phone. But when I look on the car, it's still the episodes from 2 days ago, 3 days ago, 4 days ago. And I can't quite work out how to force it to refresh the list of episodes in the playlist. Anyone?
Sometimes if I have issues with Spotify, I flick between the phone and Spotify and it seems to fix it. But that's just me. I'm not sure if anyone else has had anything like that.
It's not like it's an issue as such. Like everything works. It's just that, I mean, today is Wednesday and the podcast came out on Monday and Tuesday and again today. But the latest one that's the car shows is still Monday.
Is the account on the car's account or your account?
My account, same account.
Yes, I don't know. Sorry.
I have exactly
that's all right.
I've managed to figure out how. So I feel you're playing.
Sorry, you haven't, Richard.
No, I've never managed to fix it either. I'm just saying, I also share your pain.
Yeah.
I've not. I know the issue you're talking about, but I don't know how to fix it.
Yeah, okay. I have found that inadvertently that if you restart the screen, like the how you the two buttons and brake pedal type deal, that forces everything to refresh when you do that. But that was inadvertent because it went blank for other reasons. But yeah.
Shane, have you tried to switch between sources, say between TuneIn and then Spotify? Has that made any difference?
Not TuneIn, but I have been switching between the radio and Spotify and back. And I tried listening on the phone because if I'm listening to music on the phone, through a boom speaker or something like that, and then you hop in the car or the car just picks up wherever you left off and keeps playing the same playlist. Which that one's kind of interesting because that if I'm listening to the latest episode and then I hop in the car, the car will keep playing the latest episode, but it won't list the latest episode in the list of shows. So
maybe try TuneIn. My only reasoning is the radio is really a different subsystem, so it might not do anything to Spotify, but TuneIn is really part of the MCU program.
okay,
So I wonder if it might sort of shut Spotify down while it starts up TuneIn, and therefore when it gets back into it may then restart Spotify
yeah,
rather than just suspending it, if you know what I mean. Perhaps.
yep, good idea. Yeah, I'll try it.
Yeah, I don't know. One question that actually I'm going to get Nigel to ask a Dorothy Dixer. Can you ask the first question that you emailed me about, Nigel?
Which one was that?
The one about selling.
Yes. Because we've got all these Model Ys coming, there'll be an increasing number of Model 3s going onto the market second-hand. So I was just wondering if people knew how to reset and reconnect and give it over to somebody else on the account, because it's going to become a common thing over August, September and October, I believe.
Yeah, I'm really glad you asked that question, Nigel. Now, the best way, there's a couple of issues. There's the actual transferring ownership, which can be done via your app, whereby you say you relinquish control of your Tesla and the other person can actually gain control. But something that's important for everyone's privacy is to make sure that your car no longer contains any personal information, such as all the places you've navigated to and other things. So what you can actually do now, apologies, this is actually a previous version of the touchscreen user interface, but it's all very similar. So what you do is you basically go into the car section, and when you click on that, you go down to service, and you scroll down to the bottom of service, and there's a button called factory reset. So when you actually do a factory reset, that will actually effectively delete all your settings, all the stored information. It'll delete your trip meters, it'll delete your profiles, it'll delete all of your navigation requests and destinations, it'll delete your home address, your work address. Basically, it returns your car to as if you'd effectively collected it from the Osborne Park delivery centre. So it basically wipes everything. Like I said, including profiles. It'll also wipe all your Bluetooth matchings, or whatever you call it, when you enroll your various phones into Bluetooth. So that's probably something that you should do. The other thing you might want to do is format your memory stick that is in the glove box of your car for dash cam clips, just to make sure they're all deleted.
Yeah, and what about the drive cards? You know, the little credit cards to drive. Does it delete those?
I don't
I
know
hope it doesn't.
is a correct answer. I don't think it would, because you need them to actually use
Yeah,
your
you need
car.
those to be able to repair somebody's new phone, the new owner, and so on.
I think it does. Well, I can't confirm this. I haven't tried this, but I think it may delete the phone keys, but I'm not certain about that. So you may just want to go in and check your phone keys. So again, apologies, and I'm doing this live because I don't have a Model 3, but you go into locks, into the locks menu, and then if you have key cards, and actually this car, when I took these photos, didn't have a phone key, but there would be a phone key listed, and you can just hit the delete button to delete it if the software, if the factory reset doesn't delete phone keys. Although it's entirely plausible that it would, but it would retain the key cards, because obviously that's the only means of getting in and out of your car or making a car work. And then you just hand over those phone keys to the new owner. The key cards to the new owner. One or both of them, or whatever you've got. because I think you need at least one key card active in the car. And then, like I said, you can then actually say, you can go into your My Tesla account and effectively tell Tesla that you've gotten rid of that car, you've sold it. And then the person who's buying the car, there's actually in your My Tesla account, there's a button there's basically a button where you can say, I've purchased a new car. And then I think Tesla have to confirm that with the new purchaser. And they may also confirm it with you as the old purchaser. There is another technique that's off-label, and that's if you've got your own single My Tesla account. What you can do is you can basically hand over your My Tesla account, enter in the email address of the new purchaser. You can then change the password. They can then change the name, phone number. Basically, you can effectively change every detail in your My Tesla account and put it in someone else's name.
Just make sure you delete your credit card details.
Yes, absolutely. So, and that's a very good point, Nigel. So
It doesn't matter if it's Harold's credit card, but if it's ours, no.
That's right. If it's anything but my credit card, so note to me, I don't need to bother about deleting my credit card, but for everyone else, mere mortals, please do. But that's another method. Although, like I said, Tesla do have a very easy mechanism to actually transfer ownership. And I think you actually, as part of that process, all you need to do is actually, as the seller or the transferor, you just tell in your account, you just say the email address of the person you're transferring it to. And provided they've got a My Tesla account in that email address, it will just transfer straight across. In fact, I recall Bjorn Nyland in Norway actually doing that. So the person that's buying your car just sets up a My Tesla account. You then just tell Tesla you're transferring it to that different email, and it all gets transferred across.
I've got a question.
Yes, Jared.
You go, Joe.
I've got a very important question. I just want to know what Pete's having for dinner tonight. It looks really yummy. So if he wants to share that with us, or
It's actually not bad. Powerball from Nando's.
oh, there, I thought it was. I had a feeling that it was Nana's. Yeah, right.
So could I, if I just come back to what you were saying, if you go in on the web to your account, log into your account, you go to the car that you're selling, click on manage, and then down there it's got sold your car to a third party,
Yes.
remove car. And then
Yes.
I think if you, I'm not going to click on that now because
No.
I still want my car. I haven't got my wire yet.
I think you should test it, Nigel, just see if it works.
Well, can I just have your details, Jared, and I'll try and see.
Yeah, just give it a whack it in there, give it a go.
I think when you do press that button, I think it does say for you to enter in the email address of the person you've sold it to, on the presumption that that's a My Tesla account, and it'll go straight away rather than it just going out into the ether. But we haven't.
I do have another question for John Edwards, who seems to looks like he's got some more corporate sponsorship going on there. John, have you sold out to a new company? Can't hear you, John.
You're on mute, John.
Oh, is he been? He can't talk about it. Can't say AM.
He's just unmuting himself.
Oh, John.
Yeah. Can't announce anything yet.
Oh, of course not.
But you got
Didn't
the
say
picture
anything.
there as a
You
giveaway.
can, I can't,
Yeah,
I
but he
can't-
hasn't said anything.
I can't say anything. I haven't said
Right.
anything.
Okay.
But there is a critical meeting happening tomorrow, and yeah, I'm got a little bit of spring in my step since Monday morning, where I was provided with that meeting request.
Do you feel there's a new charge in your life, John? Is that what you're trying to say? You got a bit of a zap going, eh?
Yeah. And
And blue is your favourite colour, isn't it? Blue.
oh, I'm not fussed.
How
They
big
give
the
it money,
jet, John?
yeah.
You love blue.
I noticed I've broken a rule there on the bonnet there somewhere. but I'm colourblind anyway. I'm colourblind, so whatever.
We'll let it slide, John.
Sorry.
We'll let it slide. That's okay.
So yeah, look, positive. Hopefully, be able to announce something soon. A couple of other details. The starting point for the rally has changed to Wellington Square. So Wellington Square on the 28th of October, 6:30 a.m. that the rally will start.
It's a little bit early, John. You reckon we could push it back to like 10:30 on a Sunday? I like to roll out of bed with a paper. And,
Jared, I'll give it my best shot, mate.
like, if we just push it back to like,
I'm sure the organisers would be pretty compliant, pretty happy to hear that sort of change.
sort of 10:45 would be good. Sort of time on Sunday.
Just
Excuse my ignorance. Where is Wellington Square? Sorry.
Oh, look, I actually don't know. So
that's okay.
Okay, well, I can tell you where Wellington Square is because there's been a dance party at Wellington Square. It's right in the middle of the city.
Navigate to Wellington
It's the one that the government just spent $50 billion on a brand new adventure playground with lots of rides and things to play on for kids. And they basically divided the park.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Gotcha. So it's basically in the city, but
quite interesting place late at night. A lot of nocturnal creatures walk around that place late at night. I can tell you that from experience of working there late at night. Very interesting place. At 6:30 should be fine.
Yeah, we've got 923 kilometres to do that day, so we're probably looking to start even earlier than 6:30.
Oh, maybe you can do like a basic level for me, like just do 100 kilometres. Special roll in at 11. We
can drive straight to Southern Cross and avoid the 900 Ks. You can, what's that, about 300-400 Ks, Harold?
Yeah, not even.
So that's the first night stop at Southern Cross.
We'll look at that time of the morning, John. I will be dreaming of you.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll be thinking of you, Nigel. No worries.
And what was the conclusion, John, with regards to the allowance time for charging on your race time?
Yeah, they've already agreed that we can subtract the charging time. So
okay.
Even though we'll be starting early and arriving late at most of the each day, they've said we can deduct. I mean, it's not a timed competition, right? So although they'll be timing everyone, it'll be unofficial timing anyway. But they've said we can deduct their charging time so that we've got a comparable number by the time we get to Sydney. And that's really all I could ask for. I just don't want the Tesla to get to Sydney and we're 42 hours behind the lead car. It's just not going to be. That's not comparable. So
how many cars are there, John?
So he's got just short of 80 paid up registrations. It's just under. I think it's about 76, including us, and he's expecting to get up to 80 by the time we get going. And there's a couple of guys coming in from overseas. There's a couple of big names which I don't know because I'm not in rallying and that, but I think Max Winkles is a well-known guy. He's a truck dealer. He's driving in it, and there's a couple others. So
Max Winkles.
It's gathering momentum.
John, 80 cars to all fit into Wellington Square is going to be quite an ask.
Oh no, Pete. Wellington Square is really big. It's a really big area.
Yeah,
you fit 180 cars in there, no problem.
On the grass area, you mean?
Yeah, all on the grass, not around the parking.
Yeah,
okay. They'll be on the lawn.
Yeah, I don't know. Originally, it was going to be Langley Park, but the City of Perth have asked the organisers to shift it to Wellington Square. So,
yeah, it's a good spot. It'll be a good spot to do it.
Your presentation on 6PR, John, came across very well too. I thought it was very well done.
Sorry,
and, but your presentation on 6PR, not 6PR, Curtin Radio.
Yeah,
was,
Curtin.
Yeah, Curtin Radio. My apologies. Yeah, that was well done and came across very well, I thought.
Did you hear that? Did you? That was
Yes, I did. Yes, it was good.
You weren't driving at the time, were you, Pete?
No.
Okay.
I've actually got that recorded, and we'll play it a bit later on in the program.
Oh, you did. How'd you get? I emailed it to you, but can you?
Yeah, I have ways, John.
You've got
So
because it's kind of.
Got a very powerful credit card.
I've got it loaded. I've got it loaded on my computer. So, like I said, we'll play that a little bit later on.
All right, great. So, just finishing off on this rally thing, I'm still looking for a lithium miner to come on board and sponsor. We've got 300 kilowatt hours of lithium barreling across the country to get this done, and I reckon there's a story in that. So if anybody's got any,
you might be right.
Anybody
like Energizer, maybe contacting Energizer.
Anybody got any contacts in the lithium amongst the lithium miners? I mean, I've got a few, and I'm trying to get them interested, but I haven't succeeded. But it'd be a pity to do this whole thing and then that story doesn't get told or captured for somebody.
My brother works at the Greenbushes lithium mine, but he's one of their computer technicians. So I don't think he'll have any pull with any of the managers there.
But if he knows somebody that might know somebody, I mean, with these things,
I'll give him a call tomorrow, John, and find out.
Yeah, that'd be great, Nigel, because any kind of small lead might lead on to something. And you need to know someone. If you go to Greenbush admin@greenbushes.com, you won't get past the reception. So
yeah. So how many EVs have you got going across?
So there's one. We're the only electric.
All right. Okay.
Everything else is petrol, and they all want to know how we're going to do it. I'm still trying to work that out myself. So.
That's the Greenbushes mine right there with a Tesla at the crusher.
Oh, cool.
That's pretty cool.
That was taken during my lap around Australia in 2018.
Awesome.
So you should get the green theme in that same spot there, John, at the Greenbushes mine. It's actually quite accessible.
Looks good. Looks good.
So yeah, Nigel, work your magic.
No promises.
ABC.
Good evening, gents. It's John here. I'm a new member in the last couple of days. Sorry, I was unmuted before, Harold.
Oh, welcome, John. Tell us about your car.
Yeah, hi. I've been EV driver for about 4 years, but I've got a Model Y Performance due November in that first bracket on the first morning ordered.
Cool.
I met you at Garden City many years ago. I got BMW i3s.
Yes.
We used to charge there together, but so I've progressed to the Tesla now.
Well, congratulations for graduating.
We still got the little runaround to i3 as well, but that's by the by. But if one question off topic from where you've been, but as far as detailing the new car, it's a multi-coat red. I was thinking of PPF and ceramic, but I'm just wondering if there's any suggestions of who might be a worthy persons or business to do it in Perth. There's probably a few businesses, but just wondering.
Whereabouts are you, John?
I'm at Hall's Head. I've been in Hall's Head for the last couple of years, but
right, okay, yeah. Well, I'm in Baldivis. I got my Model 3 done, but they're a bit expensive. The best one I've found is Fortified Protections. They're in Success.
Okay. So they do.
I'm getting my Model Y done there.
Okay. So they do the whole range of PPF and
he's got clear, matte, and what's called prism. And I'm getting mine done in prism because it's all sparkly, and as you walk around, it changes colour, and it's going to look a little bit different to everybody else's model.
So Nigel, if you're in prison, how do you get your car to be?
It's when Nigel's at the men's shed. He likes to look better than the rest of them out there. To look sparklier.
So sorry, what is Prism? What is it again? Is it a
It's sparkly, yeah. It reflects the colour underneath differently. So as you walk around the car, it changes colour.
It used to be called Mardi Gras, but they changed it because it wasn't working so well.
So it's sort of like a speckled sort of diffraction sort of thing, but
yes, yeah.
And is it matte or is it clear? Gloss.
Well, no, it's clear gloss.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Ernie Tay, who's the owner at 45 Protections, he's got a black Model 3 that looks really quite specky when it's done. Yeah, so that I've got a blue, and it's going to be done like that. And so as you walk around, it changes colour a bit.
Yeah, right. And how much is that?
To do the Model Y, and I think with the ceramic coat's about 6.5 total.
That's the full body though.
That's full body, and because they've got to make sure that it gets around all the little corners rather than sort of come up to the edge. Otherwise, you can see the different.
Yeah, the line.
Yeah.
So Nigel, that includes inside the doors and as well, or just the outside?
Well, they've got to wrap it around the bottom of the door. I don't think they put it on the sill on the inside.
Okay.
I honestly, I haven't asked about that, but he does have to wrap it around the doors. Otherwise,
because that if they go inside the doors and over the sills, etc., that can add a couple of $1,000s to the job, because that's apparently the hardest part, the most expensive part.
Yeah, well, it's harder to do the Prism than it is just the clear PPF, and even the matte has got to be done more carefully.
But that's the difference between a cheapie and a film. Was actually go over the edges rather than just up to the edges, which is pretty ordinary.
Yeah, with the clear PPF, they don't have to be quite so accurate cutting it and folding it around the edges. Whereas with the matte and the Prism, they've got to take it around and make sure that they get the edges really well covered. Otherwise, it does look a bit strange because it'll be a different colour.
Yeah.
And because I got the white seats, it's going to be about 250 to ceramic coat the seats inside.
Okay.
Interesting. Is the Prism PPF self-healing, or is it just a standard? Do you know?
I don't know. I haven't spoken to Ernie on the day he was flying out to Bali for his holiday.
Yeah.
That's right, because he's already got a holiday on the profit he's going to make on your car, Nigel. So
that's
good.
So John, they also do like a front, just the front of the car package. Funny you bring that up, Nigel, because I've been speaking to the gentleman as well in regards to it. So I think it says full vehicle PPF. I've got the message here from Facebook Messenger. I think so. They quoted full vehicle PPF, all painted panels plus headlights, 5850. So that's the quote I was given. So it's obviously not the Prism. That must have been just the basic one.
That's for the clear PPF.
Yeah. So, but they've also got the full front template. So that's bonnet, fender, headlights, front bumper, side mirrors. So John, that's $2,300.
Yeah.
And then if you do the door edges, so that's back to you, Pete. PPF door edges, $80.
How much was it, Nigel?
No, for my full car, it would be about 6.5. The door edges is just like a protecting around the edge. If you open it and knock it on something.
Hey, Nigel, rather than doing that, why don't you forget about doing that? Put 6.5 towards the rally car, and get us a picture of yourself, and I can stick it on there and go all the way across to Sydney. That would
and
be
we can
better.
put some.
I appreciate the offer, John, but piss off.
Yeah.
Not that much of a narcissist. Jared, are you going to do it then?
Me? Oh yeah, definitely. I'm going the full Prism with the mirror ball look. So wherever I am, there'll always be a disco somewhere. And then when you open the doors, ABBA starts playing, and it's just that's. And I'm getting it cheap, 9,000. He's staying another week in Bali on me. There you go.
There you go.
That was your segue.
Well,
No,
you
look,
always,
Nigel, I agree. Look, if you, whatever you do, just find the best, research it, do it, you know, and cry about it for a couple of years, and you'll be all right. But yeah,
Exactly.
I haven't done any protection on the Model 3 since we've had it, which is just on a year. I haven't seen the need to at this stage, but I guess you should.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't got insurance.
Yeah, but you hardly
Insurance
drive
is-
yours, Jared.
Yeah, true. That's true. No, that's true. I hardly ever drive it, but
Yours is-
I do drive it.
Yours has barely gone anywhere.
Yeah, that's
Might as
true.
well stayed in the garage.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, that's true.
one
Doesn't get
counterpoint
rain
to
on it.
I can't get rain on it. No way. It's gonna get wet.
one
Yeah,
counterpoint to that is my car's 5 years old and it's done 218,000 Ks and it's got no PPE on it, but it has got the
There you
odd
Or
stone chip.
PPF.
PPF, I mean, sorry.
Yeah.
Carol, I've done over 60,000 in mine, and within a few days I got a couple of stone chips. So when I took it in for the PPF, they touched them up, and I've had stone chips galore. I mean, it was only last week I had to drive down to Manjimup up and back, and you get stuck behind the trucks down there, and you just hear ding ding ding. Nah.
Yeah, well, look, mine is full of stone chips. They're pretty small, obviously, and you can see them. But I guess I've sold it for $6,000. But you know,
I got
if
one
wanted
in the
to touch up
windscreen
the
on
paint.
day two. I got a stone chip on the windscreen on day two, like a really tiny. You can, unless you know to look for it, you can't see it.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
that's it. And it's done 40,000 Ks in the last 12 months.
Yeah. On a side note, when I drove to Broome going through all the locusts and grasshoppers, it was much easier to clean that crap off with a PPF.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've got ceramic coating on it, no PPF, and that's all I use it for, is to clean it up. And I've had stone chips on the windscreen, but the car itself seems fine. So, don't know.
Nigel, have you seen any examples of a pearl white car with that prism wrap on it?
No, I haven't personally. You can get pictures of them. It just makes it a little bit more.
It adds a purple hue to it.
Makes it more.
It gives it a bit of a pinkish hue.
Yeah, it's a purple hue. Yeah.
Bit of a fluffy.
There's a
sunshine.
You can't.
I've got my
I'm thinking forward a couple of years, maybe 4 or 5 years. Prism on a Cybertruck.
No.
Oh,
Definitely not. No. No.
I'm going to throw it out there.
Gilding the lily. Just trying to
My
gild the
daughter
lily.
has already demanded I get purple with the changing colour purple on my Cybertruck when it arrives.
Yeah,
There you
well, my car's going to be blue, and with that Prism PPF, it looks purple from some angles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I reckon a Cybertruck would look good in anything, even if it was full of cow pats. I don't care.
Exactly. Yeah.
As long as it's on the road. It's got to be on the road.
Yep.
I'll be happy with it just how it is. Thanks.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh dear. Okay. Now, Nigel, I think you had another question, which is pertinent to anyone that might be new at having an EV.
Yeah, it was along the lines of charging etiquette.
Plug share.
Yeah.
It's even more than that. It's not just PlugShare, which is a social media platform, which is awesome to find, the status of charges. So for anyone that's not familiar with PlugShare, obviously do yourself a favor and get the app, but you can also look at it on a computer or a tablet or anything really, and it basically shows you all the locations where to go. What can be useful is, for instance, if you click on a link, it'll tell you, comments. I mean, clearly, if you go to the supercharger, it's not going to have anything useful because it'll always work, because that's what superchargers do. But say if we change plugs,
Lake Grace, go to Lake Grace. That saved my bacon the other day.
yes. sorry, now I'm just got to get off that and go to plugs and go CCS. So for instance, if we go to Lake Grace, and you can see that there are some comments saying that it's not working. Actually, that's inaccurate now. Lake Grace actually is on free vend, just as a public service announcement. But there are comments. So for instance, someone will say unable to charge. Now, what can be useful with PlugShare is, and this is completely optional, is you can actually check in and indicate when you are going to leave, so that someone else who's using PlugShare could be some kilometres away from that location, see that you're charging, see that you're predicting that you're going to leave in, let's say, half an hour or an hour or 2 hours, and then decide whether or not to come. Now, obviously that's fraught with the risk of, there's always a circumstance where you can be turning up, you've looked on PlugShare, no one's checked in, someone literally just turns up in front of you and then checks in. So checking in is optional, but it's a great thing to do if you want to do that. But you know, there's a few key things like, please don't, if it's say a shopping centre charging spot, please don't, if it's AC, put your charging rate down to say 5 amps, so it guarantees your car can be there for 8 hours and trickle charge all day, because that's convenient for you. Because obviously the chargers are there for everyone to use, and you don't want to have that tragedy of the commons whereby the whole system gets wrecked because a few people hog it, you know, because they live locally or whatever. You know, or if you're a local, you clearly don't really need to charge right round the corner from your house, because you can do that perfectly well at home. But it'd be healthy for you to think of people in general that might be out of the area and are passing through and may need to have a charge. You know, that gives them less inconvenience having to go somewhere out of their way to make up for that lost spot. But I mean, look, people are human. You know, like Paul Keating said about, you know, never getting in between a bunch of premiers and a pile of money. Well, you know, never get between a bunch of EV drivers and a free charger. But, you know, it's just polite to use it opportunistically. If you're going to the shops, then by all means use it, but please use it at full rate, so that, you know, if you're at the shops for an extra time, just unplug and park your car around the corner and let someone else.
Not only that, but I think limit your charging time to an hour or thereabouts.
Yep.
I try and make sure I am moved within an hour.
Yep.
This morning I had to go in and we got stuck at the travel agency, and I was about an hour and a quarter to an hour and 20. And so I just touched mine up to 95%, and it had finished about 5 minutes before I got back to the car.
So Nigel, I understand that ordering first class tickets does take a bit extra time, you know, because
Especially for old people.
you've got the
It was
menu selection.
It was absolutely free, because I went into the travel agent yesterday to ask a question about a holiday for next year that we'd already got booked. And she said, "Oh, have you forgotten your free travel credit?" And I go, "What?" And she goes, "Yeah, you've got two tickets on Malaysian Airlines to KL return in credit. And if you don't use them by the end of the year, you'll lose them." And I go, "Okay." So I went back today, and we're going to KL for my birthday. All free.
MH
370. No.
Yeah. What are you going to lose again? The plane. Oh, that's right. Not written. When you're speaking of charging being selfish, Richard Chapman is known to take his car and park it up for a couple of days with a caravan at a charging station on many occasions. So I'm aware of that one.
Yeah, the campsite in Port Hedland was, only had about 215 amp charging stations. So I was blocking everyone.
Yeah, that's what they do in England. It's back the English way.
Yeah. So to come back, I think the charging etiquette is try not to stay too long. 4 and 5 hours to fill your car up is just plain rude.
I had some people tell me that.
It is nice to log in on PlugShare. I always try and remember, I have forgotten on a couple of occasions, And only last week I got a message, you know, are you going to be long? I said, no, I'm on my way up. I'll be there in 5 minutes. I'd still got about 15 minutes left on the time that I was going, but I only plug in, go and do whatever I've got doing and then come out. So, you know, that guy stayed around and then he got his charge and he was down to about 20%, I think, on his way home.
I think one thing in particular is please don't say don't drive to the shops, plug in and then walk home. Please don't get into that if you
I'm
like.
hearing
People do that.
Harold, I know that people are doing that.
I'll take an electric scooter and go home. It's much easier.
Nigel, I know someone, and they will remain nameless, and they're not in this room. They've never been.
Have a white Models S.
Had an Icona with a
trailer.
Or was it a model?
Hang on, let me just hang on 2 seconds.
Seriously. The hell's wrong with people?
Cool. So yeah, so please don't be a local that just because it's nearby doesn't mean it's yours. Because you didn't buy $100,000 car to save, you know, $30 in electricity bills.
Exactly. And another thing is don't park at a charger and not plug in. That friggin' does my head in. It's not a parking spot; it's a charging spot.
Yeah, it's better than Oscar.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I've got a question actually with regards to PlugShare.
Yeah, mate.
Because PlugShare is fantastic, right? I've used it plenty of times, and especially if you, like realistically, I live near enough to the city to see, you know, metro area that I don't need to charge. I just charge at home and I'm done. But I do have a tendency to venture out into the wilds, and when I do, PlugShare is fantastic. What's the etiquette or the procedure for adding new plugs to PlugShare? Because in the past year, I don't know that I've seen many new plugs added anywhere. I've definitely charged at multiple caravan parks and multiple hotels, etc., where that was fine to charge, but I didn't add a new plug. Should I be adding a new plug? And how do I?
Yeah, absolutely.
How does it work? What's the etiquette? What's the polite way of doing it?
Well, you need to get permission from the person that owns the plug.
Yeah.
So let's say you find a 3-phase socket at a caravan park, say. Then you should ask the owner if you're allowed to use it, and if they would mind you putting it on PlugShare. And most of the time, they either go, "What's PlugShare?" and they don't care, or maybe they might say, "Oh, look, we're happy for you to use it, but please don't post it officially. But we're happy for you to use it today," sort of thing. So if you want to add a plug, there's actually in the upper left-hand corner, there's a little icon that says plus on your phone app. I'm trying to get that a little bit clearer. So then you just press plus, and you then basically, it comes up with a new location and a pin. And my phone's not updating, but there is it's probably in the sea. Yeah, it's gone off. So then you basically move that pin around to anywhere on the map where it actually is, and you place it, and then you go and edit the actual details, which includes what kind of plug it is, whether it's a Type 2, a Tesla destination charger HPWC, or even a fast DC charger. The one pin you cannot add is a Tesla supercharger, because that type of pin or that type of nozzle is strictly controlled by Tesla. So only Tesla can, frustratingly, only Tesla can add them. And as we've seen on PlugShare, for instance, the Margaret River supercharger hasn't been added on PlugShare yet. But having said that, of course, it's available on your touchscreen in the navigation section of your car, which it intimately knows where all the superchargers are. But yeah, so it's just an upper left-hand icon. I think Androids will be the same, where it's got like little pin and a plus symbol, and you can just add a location. But the etiquette, Shane, is that you should clearly get clearance from the person that owns that.
Permission,
get permission.
Yeah.
It's much better to get
Harold,
permission than seek forgiveness.
And when you when you put the marker down, just zoom in as much as you can to try and get the, as precise a location as you can, because it's, you obviously know where it is, but someone else that's using that marker to navigate to it, it's a lot harder then.
Yeah, please do
And
that.
Harold, you've obviously travelled a few places that at the time you travelled them, certainly there were roads less travelled. How have you gone about, or have you gone about trying to book ahead, if you know what I mean?
I'm going to be brutally honest. When I did it back in November 2018, I didn't book anything ahead. Nothing at all. I just drove.
So you found, what were you going to do if you found yourself, 400 k's from anywhere, and they said, "Yeah, nah, sorry, mate, you can't charge"?
Oh, well, look, I looked on PlugShare, so I did make sure that for the destinations ahead of me, that that I understood what was there. So I understood that it was a 32 amp three-phase outlet, or for instance, in Sandfire, it's actually a 20 amp outlet.
Yeah.
Is that right, Steve? Is it Sandfire or Pardue?
No, it's Pardue is the 20
Pardue,
amp. That's why you
apologies.
gave me that extension cord with the
Yes.
Sandfire is the 32 amp.
So I made sure I actually understood what was there. Now, for instance, on my second day, I intended to stay overnight at the Rangers motel in Karratha, where there is a Tesla destination charger. But as it turns out, they were fully booked. So then I pressed on to Wim Creek, and I did try and ring ahead to make a booking, and their phone just rang out, and I just took the risk that they'd have a bed there, and if not, I'd sleep in the car. But I did charge at Wim Creek, and that was fine. One place, as soon as I arrived, I realised I should have rung ahead, is Camberwell in far west Queensland.
Yes.
Because that place, it's actually a RACQ tow truck agency mechanic sort of place. In fact, I'll just bring it up on PlugShare. So it's this place here, which is 471 kilometres from Tennant Creek. And basically it's a RACQ workshop. And the gentleman there basically said, "Oh, you're really lucky I'm here. I'm this time of year I'm often out on the road recovering wrecked vehicles or broken down cars." So he goes, "Oh, you're lucky that you found me here." And I was charging there for the next 3 hours. So to be honest, I was a bit slack, and I basically just winged it and was prepared to be flexible. So I'd go to a place and go, "Have you got accommodation? Yes or no?" And completely wing it. I really didn't book anything. Most most charging places, you don't have to book. For instance, I recently went to Norseman and just checked. I looked on PlugShare. So for instance, if we quickly look at Norseman, there's a comment that says, "Contact Dundas Shire in advance, blah, blah, blah. They would likely suggest calling Pete on this number." So I figured, well, rather than calling Dundas and just being told what was said on PlugShare, I just rang Pete and said, "Hey, Pete, just checking, because this place is actually, this place, there's I don't know if there's a better photo than that. It's sort of round an oval, and there are gates leading up to it, which can be closed. But when I rang Pete, he said, no worries, mate. It's completely open. So it doesn't hurt to ring ahead just for your own confidence if you're doing a trip. But just be flexible. But also, like I said, do read PlugShare, because sometimes it may say, "Oh, look, this thing is not working," and then you need to plan to be able to leapfrog, so you charge up more at your previous location. Look, if you want to do road tripping really safely, the best technique is charge often at each location. Do little charges at each location rather than going all the way to one location and relying on charging fully there. So if you got something halfway, just top up there and do some walk around. Break up the trip with lots of little charging sessions, so that you can then withstand, in most cases, having to leapfrog if you had to. So you don't want to sort of.
So
I've got a question.
Well, hang on. So yeah, go Shane.
one trip that I was trying to happen for various reasons, it didn't happen. I was trying to plan the journey to get from Kalgoorlie to Hayden in one step, which in my car would probably involve a trip down Fence Road as well, which would kill my range. So I would be getting pretty close. Now,
the way I did it was I actually went to. I went the other way. I went to Hayden first and then to Kalgoorlie. And the way I did it was I went up there's a dirt track basically up to Southern Cross from Hayden. So you can go Kalgoorlie to Southern Cross and then down to Hayden. I forget the actual.
Okay, I wasn't going to go as far as Southern Cross because Fence Road is further over. It sort of pops out about where your mouse is there somewhere.
Yeah, that's. I think that's what.
So the question really is, I guess, there's one charge point there at Kura Retreat.
Yes.
Now Kura Retreat, as far as I can tell from the comments, is like a well, it's an accommodation place.
Yes.
Is the etiquette that if I wanted to drop in for half an hour or an hour on the way from Kalgoorlie, because that would give me the confidence, you see, one full charging cow. If I leave full charging cow, I should almost get to Hayden, or I should make it to Hayden. But it would be kind of nice to just top up a little bit.
No. Do top up. No, top up a lot more at Kura Retreat, and this is actually where you charge at. There's a 32 amp 3-phase outlet here. There's a meter which you need to read. So you can't see on this door, but actually further up there's a page that this is the information where you basically there's a pencil or a pen and some forms, and you just fill out what your use is, and then you pay the amount of money, 50 cents per kilowatt hour, to this account.
I'll just add, Harold, that they've changed owners, so those details will be different.
Oh, sorry. Yes. In fact, I met Ali, who's the new owner.
Bueller is there as well. I booked to go there when I head over east next month.
So Shane, do definitely charge, and I recommend that you charge up a fair bit more than you think, because you just want that confidence. And then you can do that trip to Hayden, no problems. But it's there's nothing wrong with just charging up extra at Kura Retreat, and then and then going to Hayden.
Yeah, Shane, if you do go to Kura Retreat, the opening to the drive to get to Kura Retreat is actually comes up very quickly. So take good note of what the navigation is telling you. Don't drive past it. It's very easy to miss.
Can I add something?
Go, John. Absolutely.
I'd actually advise, like, especially new guys or anybody that's planning a trip, to contact these places. You know, if you're planning to go somewhere to charge, contact them, have a chat with them, and, you know, offer to pay for the electricity, right? I mean, what we get too many people just showing up because it's on PlugShare and have all these expectations that it's you know, that there's some sort of privilege involved in turning up in an electric car, but it's actually the other way around. We should be thankful that these people are allowing us to get to that electricity, and we should offer to pay for it. And then what you normally find is you get a very good response, and you get cooperation and everything like that, and everyone's happy. So if I'm doing a trip, I'm going across the Nullarbor, I'm doing something, I ring every single place. I let them know what sort of car I'm in, what colour, roughly what time I'm going to be there, and check that everything's good, and offer to pay. And of course, buy some stuff when I'm at their shop as well, because that's how they make their business. So if we can encourage all owners to behave that way, we get a lot more cooperation.
Yeah, I
Couldn't
agree.
agree more.
Absolutely. Shane, so your route is that this route here?
It never ended up happening, but yeah, the blue one, yeah. I was
It's
actually going to go. Not
383.
quite, actually. Maybe it was, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
so
yeah, sorry, it
383
was. Yes, where you turn off just before you get to Southern Cross. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would look, you could make 383 kilometers, but just for the sake of spending an hour and getting an extra 80 k's range, just spend a bit of time at Quarter Retreat. You know.
Yeah.
The other ways you could
It-
just do
it's-
this. Yep.
Yeah, that 380 k's is borderline. You follow the worm and you'll get there.
Yeah. I think I did a similar route, if not the same, to Southern Cross. And that's fine. You just get a whole lot of red dust in your car, but because it's all a dirt road, of course. But it's great
Yeah.
fun. It's great fun.
That's the point. That's the point, Harold. The fun.
Oh, I've got a question, Harold.
Hey, Jared.
Yeah, it's for you, Harold.
Yes.
What was Pete doing selling power in Norseman? Is that another moonlight? Is that another little thing that Pete's got going on?
It's his side hustle. That's right.
He's got another side hustle. That's another one this week. Oh, okay.
Well, the best profit margin you can get is when you sell something that's not yours, because you've got no expenses.
There you go. Learn something every day. Okay.
Just on Core Retreat, that is, they have a Tesla, their high power wall charger as well. Don't need your 32 amp 3-phase. They have the charger, so it's even easier.
Yeah, sorry, apologies, Steve. I did omit that actually, because it's not. I think it should be shown in one of the other photos. You can't really see it, but it is actually there. There's actually one at the side, just here, and it's plugged in to that 3-phase power point. You can just barely see it just behind this tree, and it's actually plugged in with a
No,
point.
I did not need to see that.
Nigel.
There we go.
Yeah.
Oh, it's James.
There it is. It's basically
Yeah.
plugged into the 3-phase outlet, which is right here. So it's plugged in here. So, but yeah, it is, for all intents and purposes, it's a HPWC. So you don't need adapters. You don't need anything. It just plugs straight in to that outlet. So there you go. But yeah, please go on a road trip.
Very good. Thank you for that. And I mean, some of that I knew, but others don't, obviously. So that's good.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
And that's the whole point. Everyone learns from people's experiences. And like John said, look, I admit on my big trip, I was a bit slack, but it is certainly great to ring ahead just to make sure.
So with again back to adding new plugs to PlugShare, because I mean, there's only going to be more and more EVs around, not less. I think I saw a number, 50,000 Teslas or something in the next year or something.
That was in the news. That was in the news, Shane. So, so Robin Denholm.
Very newsworthy.
Maybe an hour ago.
Robin Denholm actually said that there are 26,500 Teslas, and mind you, that is from the CEO of Tesla, so she knows.
Chairman.
And Tesla have been notoriously secretive about the number of cars in each market. So she's basically pegged it at 26,500. And for a person of her stature to say that she would be surprised if they didn't double that, means that she's not going to make herself look stupid and be over enthusiastic like perhaps her managing director is. There will be 26,000 odd cars delivered in the next 5 months. And that, by the way, means that in Western Australia, presuming we're 10% of the market, that's about 2,500 cars. And that is very plausible because there's a lot of order and there's going to be more next.
He's only got 900, I think he ordered. He's up to model wise now. So.
Actually, yeah, because
sorry. So back to the etiquette thing of adding plugs onto PlugShare. If I happen to be driving through some little wheatbelt town that's not listed anywhere on PlugShare, because there's lots of them.
Yep.
And I happen to be driving past a location and I go, you know what? I reckon there's a 3-phase plug hiding somewhere over there. You know, just because you look at it and you go, that looks like a likely candidate for a 3-phase plug. What's the? I have never had the guts to do it, but is it okay to go up to a business and say, "Hi, excuse me, you know, do you happen to have a 3-phase plug hanging out at the back? I don't need one now, but you know."
Completely, because let's just say that if that business, well, you never know, they could be an electrical contractor or a mechanic or whatever, and
House.
and if they, not a meth house because they'll be using the power for themselves, but if it's any other sort of legitimate business, they may only be too happy to have an EV pop by and charge because they may be in favour of the cause. It might be like a bakery or a deli or something or a hotel or whatever that is also happy because that person might stay overnight or patronise their business. So it doesn't hurt to ask, because the worst they can say is no, go away. And the best thing they can say is, yeah, sure, and we're happy for you to publicise it. So you can. There was a stage a few years ago where certain people were very enthusiastic with basically posting plugs everywhere without permission. So they'd go to a shopping centre and they'd find a 10 amp general purpose outlet in a multi-story car park and post that on PlugShare, or they'd go to a shire and go to the Oval. I mean, if you want to look for 3-phase outlets, they'll be mostly around football ovals, because that's where they'll have festivals and whatevers,
Food trucks.
and food trucks will plug in there and that sort of stuff. But again, something that we should all be aware of is this is not our entitlement to plug in and get free electricity. By definition, you are stealing if you're not paying for it or not got permission. And by the way, under the proceeds of crime legislation as written in Western Australia, what can happen is the government is entitled, if you commit a crime, to recover not the amount that you've stolen. So let's just say you stole a Mars bar at a shopping centre. The way the legislation is written is that they don't just recover the cost of the Mars bar, they can recover the cost of the premises in which the offence was committed, a la the cost of the shopping centre. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but that's the way it's written. And if you're unlucky, they can basically bankrupt you. So please don't steal the power because you think it's yours, but by all means get permission. So if you had some shire of Whoop Whoop, you just ring up the Whoop Whoop office and go, hey, notice you've got a PowerPoint, I mean a 3-phase outlet at the Whoop Whoop, at the Whoop Whoop, what's the name? Footy Oval. Is it okay that I use it? And I'm more than happy to pay for it. And they may say, oh, look, don't worry about paying for it. Go for your life.
Yeah.
And then you list it on PlugShare. So Shire of Norseman, they're only too happy for you. They don't even want payment. They said, no, don't worry about it. We're happy for you just to use it. And if there's more of those, you can find at Widgymultha or wherever.
Precisely, yeah, precisely, Harold. The objective is not to get free power. The objective is to fill in a few of the blanks along the way.
Yeah,
because there's an awful lot of blanks through that Wheatbelt area.
That's right.
And that would be an awesome thing to do, because it just means that people's trips are that much easier, because they don't have to do the big maths and do the 300 Ks one way or something if they know there's all these little stops along the way where they can stop and have a walk around and enjoy, you know,
stop and check it out, see what's there, have a coffee, and look at the local silo artwork and move on to the next town.
Well, I mean, look, Shane, for instance, there's one PlugShare post that
sounds like
which is at Leinster, right? So, in fact, there's actually one even further at the Kiwikara community. Now, it would be awesome if we could join a whole lot of green dots to somewhere useful or somewhere accessible.
So, where's the Kiri Koala community, Harold, you say?
Yeah, it's in a shed, and there's a 3-phase outlet right here. It's a 20 amp.
Yeah, right.
But it's awesome. I mean, obviously the issue is none of us at the moment can get there without assistance because it's kind of a shag on
Yeah,
the
well, the thing is though, Harold, somebody made it there, and so therefore there are plugs all the way between there. You can get there.
Oh, no, actually,
and all those
Shane,
little towns
actually,
don't
no,
have plugs.
giant tip. No one has checked in. So someone has kindly listed it because they live
Okay.
locally or whatever, or they've driven there. But no one's actually been there yet. So you could be the first to check in and be famous on PlugShare. You could be the inaugural
Yeah.
checker-innerer.
Well,
And there's a good chance you'll probably only lose 2 tyres and not 4 while you're getting charged. So you should be
yeah,
fine.
I need to make that. I want to make a tire holder thingy that goes on the back. Like I saw someone had made a tire holder, a spare tire holder for the back of their car. That looked like a bloody good idea to me. I think might be doing that.
Yeah, right. I mean, you can just get the modern spare, skinny spare, or you can borrow it from the club for road trips.
No, it was a full size spare that they'd had set up on their on the tow bar.
Oh yes, but what I mean is for a simpler solution, you could just use the skinny spare and keep it on the inside of your car, so it's less obtrusive.
Yeah,
you're right. Yeah, you can make up a rig. You can put anything on the back of a tow.
I've got that painted on the back of my trailer. I mean, you know, says EVs can't tow.
I love that, Joan. I'm thinking about doing something like that myself.
There we go. Oh, look, there it is. EVs can tow. Right.
Yeah, it gets me quite a few laughs if I'm driving down the freeway with all sorts of crap on the back.
Awesome. Cool. All right. So that's the charging etiquette and PlugShare adding thing down pat.
So Harold, I just want to clarify something. You discussing about stealing power. Were you actually referring to Richard Chapman, how he stole an apple and he came to Australia? Is that what you meant? By the government can send you to another country?
Mate, get it right. It was a loaf of bread.
Sorry, loaf of bread. Sorry, I thought it was an apple.
Loaf of stale bread.
Yeah, of course. With the bread and dripping.
Oh,
and
yummy.
Salt with the bread and dripping, right?
Yeah, of course. That was even posh.
Can I just share one more story, Harold?
Go, John.
To do with paying for these use of these PowerPoints, right? So back in the the AVA days where we split up the state and we allocated everyone a few spots to try and get 3-phase PowerPoints in, right? So it was an EV community effort that got these PowerPoints put in, and I did a couple. I think I did 3. The Pemberton Hotel is one of the ones I did, so that was good. But I did the one just west of Esperance, is at Manglingup Road. Manglingup, right? So that guy there, I must have spoke to him 6 times over, a year to convince him to. We were supplying the socket, and would he get it put in, right? And he wasn't convinced. He wasn't happy. He said, "Well, there's no EVs come by here. What's the point? Blah blah blah." Anyway, finally got him to put it in, and actually nobody used it for a little while. But then some snoozer from eastern states came there, plugged in, charged, and then half did the right thing. He went to the counter to pay some money, and there was nobody at the counter, and so there was sort of no one to pay. So he didn't pay anything, fucked off. And to me, that's still not.
Didn't he trip the power as well?
That wasn't part of the story. All it was that he came to Perth and he arranged to have lunch, and I actually got invited to the lunch, and he was there and was telling the story. And anyway, so that's how I know the details of it. But put 20 bucks, took 20 bucks on the counter and stick something on top of it if nobody's there. And you know what I mean?
Because I think we were the next people there after that, and I had to do a lot of smoothing with the guy. He was all right in the end. Like
he was pretty pissed though.
He was very unhappy.
Yeah.
But but Rob and Robin gave me a heads up about what had happened, so I
Okay.
need to like go and be as smooth the waters as possible. And he just
really-
he took he just wanted to have a rant as well, and
Yeah.
I don't mean unfairly. Like he was really not happy about being treated like that. So
It's a bit like that at Sandfire Roadhouse.
oh man, Sandfire.
Well,
Christ
look,
almighty.
here's another story, just a recent one, which I'm trying not to get pissed about, right? So everyone knows about Jurien Bay, and there's a service being provided there, right? And everyone involved in providing that service is not making any money, that's for sure. So Wade, who's the proprietor of that service station, has put a lot of time and effort into it, and it's his generator, and it's the charge has been provided to provide a fast charging service until such time as the government comes along and does theirs, right?
Yeah.
Well, we had somebody arrive there recently, and Wade has put it up to $50 flat fee, right? Because that charger is running on his generator and it uses 20 litres an hour. And with this really cold weather, he's finding and because he's using so much oil, it's not settling long enough. So he's having a few little issues with it, having some problems with the oil. So he's running it on diesel to provide the service. And 20 litres an hour for an hour is $45 worth of diesel. So he's put a $50 flat fee on the charge there. And that's fair enough, I reckon. And
I'm sure we paid more, like just to round up and make it worth a while.
So we had someone arrive there and basically refused to charge and spent 3/4 of an hour berating the staff there, saying that it was anti-competition, was profiteering, and there's nowhere else to charge in Jurien Bay. And they went off without charging and said they're going to go and talk to the ACCC. Well, fuck, you went to the ACCC, then they had a look at it. They'd say you're probably not charging enough,
Mate, I'd put it $1 a kilowatt hour.
But anyway, the thing is, we've got to, for new people, we need to introduce to this service is there, and we need to it'll be great when the electric highway's in and all these problems will disappear. But in the meantime, we've got to run with what we got.
100%.
So without trying to slander this person, the best way to assess what they've said is just to read what their words are, and the words are this: this Jurien Bay charger is 200 kilometres from Perth and the only one in this part of WA. He charges $50 flat fee, exploiting the situation where EV drivers have no choice but to charge at his charger, justifying his fee by running the charger on a diesel generator, which is ironical to environmental sustainability. Terrible disservice to the EV owners who usually don't get charged more than $10 for a full charge. So if we just pull it apart a little bit, Tesla charges 60 cents per kilowatt hour. So if you turn up to a Tesla supercharger pretty much flat and put in, say, 50 kilowatt hours into your car, that's at least $30, right?
Yeah.
But the point is, the allegation was made that the EV driver has no choice than to go to Jurien Bay. Well, you've got a very great choice. You can just not go there and limp all the way to Geraldton, because this is a privately donated charger that was donated by John at his own expense. And it was installed for the service of all EV owners. And the choice is, you can just find a 10 amp outlet and charge your car at 12 kilometres per hour and just sit there all day and then get yourself to Geraldton. This is not a government mandated essential service. In fact, I wish it was, because then there'd be charges everywhere, but it's not.
So the moral of the story is, Harold, not everyone that buys an EV is a conscientious, good driver and a great person.
Well, we're not going to be.
There's an element of wankers out there that drive EVs.
Well, I wouldn't.
One way we can.
I'm not saying another word.
I wouldn't characterise this person in those terms, but like I said, that what they've written is self-evident.
Isn't it amazing how there's a lot of keyboard warriors out there too? Unbelievable.
Yeah, so-
one
Very
way that we
powerful
can
people with keyboards.
one way we can all help is, you know, exactly what John said previously. You know, obviously, you know, be very courteous, thank them for providing the service, use their services, pay for it. But, you know, there's nothing wrong with leaving a tip as well. So, you know, if you're buying a $10 hot dog, pay 12 or 15 bucks for it. And, you know, in Australia, it's fairly unusual to tip. So that's something that the staff will remember. And the more and more EV drivers do that, you know, we could get a reputation that, you know, EV drivers tip, you know, and wouldn't that be a great reputation to have? And it will, you know, more than encourage, because, you know, the owner of the business is one thing, but, you know, the staff there as well. And, you know, like, you know, Wade has to go and, you know, take the covers off. He has to start up that generator. You know, it's a whole 5-minute process. So, you know, when I was there, when we went to Calberry, I left him a $25 tip, and he was, you know, it was over the moon. But, you know, and I just thought, you know, what's 25 bucks? 25 bucks for me to have that service there is, you know, worth a lot more than $25. And yeah, so anyway.
All right.
On that point, Pete, when we went to Sandfire, I donated 20 to the RFDS because that was the currency that meant something to him. And so on the way back, they remembered.
Yeah.
And they said the owner was really, really happy, and he thought that we were generous. I thought we were, you know, could have left more. So again, on the way out, took another $20 into the tin and put it into the tin in front of the staff. And yeah, it's all good vibes.
I mean, the car's saving us at least, you know, $3,000 or $4,000. We drive a bit, so $3,000 or $4,000 a year in fuel. So what's 25 bucks here and there?
Yeah,
you know.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree, 100%. I think it's we should all be doing the right thing. Unfortunately, I also understand the nature of the world. Not everyone's going to do the right thing, and that's the honest truth. And there's
EV owners are
unfortunately, there's a lot of wankers out there that drive Teslas, and a lot of wankers that drive Konas, and that's the way it's always going to be. So we just can do what we can do, and they're going to do what they're going to do.
So John's got one of each. What does that make?
Yeah, I've got a Tesla and a Kona. You haven't got me, Jared.
John would be classified as a super wanker.
We don't have Andy, but God, where's poor old Ant fit in this picture?
Yeah,
he's got a leaf as well.
Oh my God, he's got the trifecta.
I think just doing the right thing is what John's saying is very positive and very good, and we should all do the right thing. And I 100% agree with that personally. 100% agree, totally agree with that. I just know that unfortunately the nature of the world is like not everyone that drives a Tesla is going to do the right thing and just think they own everything and can park at a charger all day and come back and power's due to them because they drive a Tesla or drive a Kona or drive a Nissan Leaf.
Well, that's right, Jared, and it's actually one of the things is, you know, 14 out of 15 comments on there are good, right? Everyone says this is awesome, 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 and then you get the unawesome one, right? So
you're always going to have that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's the nature of the world.
Yeah.
And it'll only get you know, then you got more and more people coming online now, and not everyone's, you know, as fanatical about Tesla and doing the right thing and things like that. Some people, it's just a car. So unfortunately, you're going to have a few tosses, but I mean, we can't focus on the negative of like a couple of idiots.
I think
vast majority of the communities, you know, pretty good.
I think
something you should have.
Shut up, Jared.
Go, Nigel. Go, Nigel.
Yeah, I think Chris wants to say something. He's been turning his mic on and off, and he's been
Thank you.
and he's been too polite to butt in.
Okay,
Try
to get a word in.
Chris, the floor is yours.
Oh, great. I've got a couple of questions. First one, charging your PlugShare app, which I've had a look at and had a play with. Are there any other apps that you should have that have charging stations that aren't shown on PlugShare? Or is PlugShare the Bible and has everything?
PlugShare is the Bible, but there are other apps you will need to install so you can actually use some of the charging stations. So the first one you need to install is ChargeFox. And for that you'll need to attach a credit card. Actually, I think you can do it casually, but it's easier just to set up an account so that your credit card is attached to it. There are quite a few fast DC chargers that require ChargeFox, such as the RAC fast DC charger at the RAC headquarters and the one at Trendale, and most of the all the RAC charger locations actually. The next app you'll need is Smart Charge. Now that I'll show you what that looks like.
That would be for Geraldton, wouldn't it?
Can you see it here?
For
I've got
Geraldton.
it up.
Yeah, a bit bigger than that, Pete.
Can you put it closer?
I'll try and actually.
How's
I'll
that?
just spotlight. Yeah, I'll just spotlight myself temporarily because I can zoom in. Okay. So, apologies, it's the wrong color, but the Smart Charge is actually green, even though it's because I've got a green screen. It's not showing through. So there's Smart Charge. You can also download EV, but I don't think there's really much of EV and Everty. That's another app.
EV's for the East Coast.
Again, there's ChargeFox. Next Charge, I don't think they're really running much anymore. So it's mainly ChargeFox and Smart Charge.
Right. The reason I ask is
Next charge is Katanning.
No, I think that's changed over to. Sorry, I was going to remove my spotlight. I think that's changed over to Smart Charge, Shane. In fact, I'll just check that on PlugShare. I think it has moved over.
Okay, all right.
Because of technical reasons. I'll just bring that up just to confirm that. Katanning.
So Chris, while Harold's bringing that up, you look at PlugShare and it'll tell you which charging app you need to be able to charge at those particular locations. Then you obviously have to download that app before you get there.
Oh, right. Okay.
In fact, it says Smart Charge, Shane. So yeah, Chris, that's Smart Charge.
Right.
Okay,
So-
must have changed.
And so the reason I'm on here, I guess, is I haven't actually got a Tesla yet, but I have made arrangements to buy one in South Australia because I can't be bothered waiting for a new one for the 6 months, 9 months. So I was going to grab a second-hand one, and
Are you going to drive it back, Chris?
Well, I was contemplating it.
Don't contemplate. Just
do it.
So you guys have probably done it before from Adelaide back to Perth. Is that? I mean,
Yes.
it looks doable.
Yes.
I just, I must
Definitely
admit,
doable. It's not
the
very many of us.
infrastructure is not quite what I thought it would be.
Oh, so
Chris,
okay.
which model?
Sorry.
Which model?
Model 3, long range.
Long range, good. I've got a long range. Now I've driven to Brisbane and back, and I did that 2 weeks after getting the car.
Right.
And I'm driving across again next month. It's quite doable. You just plan it with PlugShare, and take your time. For example, I got from Port Augusta to Ceduna in one leg. That was awkward because that's 474 kilometers. I got there with 6%. And that was because Poochera was closed. So I had planned on stopping there, but it wasn't open. So stop at Kimber or you just drive at 95.
Right. Okay.
So it's doable.
And
So
Chris,
you guys-
there's quite a few stops now all the way to the South Australian border now, thanks to one man in this room, John Edwards, and thanks to another man who's helped swap out one of them that wasn't working pretty much the same day, Harold Murphy. It's really, just have a look at PlugShare and there's quite a few of the biofuel charges there. So there's one in Ceduna that Harold's pulling up now. And that was a swap right there.
That's a swap. I think that one was the good one, and that one was the bad one. and then we swapped that one to that one. So we took that one back home to John's. But yeah, so basically, you've got the great thing is once you get to Border Village, which there is charging there, well, and Euclid, but that's a little bit more difficult. But Chris, actually, when are you picking up your car? Oh, sorry, when are you buying a car?
Well, as soon as practical. I just haven't. I'm just trying to weigh up whether to just put it on a truck and send it over, or go over there.
Drive it.
Okay, so
well, I'd like to, but the next complication, well, for me, is I don't have any cables. He's only got a UMC, so I'd need all the adapters and bits and bobs.
Okay,
And
so
everything.
don't worry about that. Very important question. Here's a very important question, Chris. Are you a member of TOCWA?
I am.
So you invested $20 to be right. Well, that's fortunate you did that because you can borrow cables and adapters off us for free for road trips, and clearly taking your car and repatriating it and rescuing it from Adelaide to take it to Perth qualifies as a road trip. So you
Not
can
only does it qualify, it probably puts you up there in the pecking order as well.
probably as a priority.
I'm actually tempted to offer him a trip over. Like, I'll give him a drive one way and come back together.
So you can certainly get to Adelaide and then drive it back. And we can even coach you effectively on the way, but we can give you a few tips. And like I said, I mean, I've done it. Steve's done it in a Tesla.
Here's another question. I guess the other risk factor is spare tire, because I won't have one. You know, when I pick up.
We've got plenty of them as well, Chris.
So we have what's called a modern spare. I'm not sure how much it weighs, and it has, in fact. Oh, it wasn't the modern spare that we took on an aeroplane, but Ken Taylor actually took a full-size Model 3 18-inch wheel on a plane as on board as luggage.
Right.
Checked it in. I think you have to make sure it's below 20 psi or something. It's going to be fairly flat, and he flew it from Melbourne or Sydney to Perth. So you can do the opposite. You can take a modern spare, which is in a bag. It's actually really convenient because the jack, everything's all in the one kit, and you can take it over as checked in luggage.
Right.
So that can be done. You can take charging adapters. You really only, for the Nullarbor trip, you only really need a 32 amp adapter.
Right.
In fact, that's all you really need for the Nullarbor trip.
And we've got full-size spares as well. So if you preferred a full-size spare for the Model 3.
Pete, I think the skinny will be a bit better because it's a bit smaller to take on an aeroplane.
Yeah, that's.
And it's got the jack and all that sort of stuff all together, so it'll be easier to sort of.
Oh, okay, right. Because I was wondering if I just chanced it. I mean, pretty unlikely to get a flat, really. But if you do, you know, what do you do? You know, how long is it going to take to get you to?
It's a difference between a slow leak, which you can hit a tech screw or a nail. You've got a slow leak, you've got to keep topping up, or a catastrophic flat, which can happen if you're really unlucky. But
is there cell phone coverage over that stretch of road, or is it
not much?
No, it's patchy.
Not much. No, it's quite patchy.
Telstra only.
Yeah, well, I'm with Telstra, but is it you'd still patchy even with Telstra? Yeah.
Yeah, no, they've got across the Nullarbor. It's pretty crappy. They do have these long range towers whereby they have very narrow beams that sort of go right down the highway, but you sort of do lose coverage often. But that doesn't matter. The car doesn't care. It'll still work quite well. It just doesn't care. That's So Pete's got that's the modern spare. Don't be fooled by the $350 to $440 price. That's in US dollars, and that doesn't include freight, which
it's closer to $1,000.
Yeah, it's deep into like $800 territory once you've landed it in Australia. But you can borrow that for free, and I don't think it doesn't have a weight, but it's actually I'm going to guess at 15 kilos. So if you get a flight, you might you might get a little bit extra baggage or something like that. You know, pay for the baggage. But that's if you want the assurance of having a spare tire.
Well,
And
look,
in terms
I know-
of
Go-
in
go-
terms
go,
of
please.
coverage, Chris, you can hire out a satellite phone if you're worried about being stuck somewhere without coverage. So that's always you can buy one for $1,000, or you can hire one for a few bucks a week. So
If you've got a problem, there's always someone on that road that'll help you. Everyone
yes.
that goes past will probably stop, so you don't need a phone. But you generally only got coverage at the roadhouses or sometimes in between. But it's patchy at best across there. But everyone will stop for you. And if they don't, just put your hand up, and they'll certainly stop for you.
Yep. I only had my Spotify a couple of times, which uses the Telstra network. So
oh well,
Yeah,
let's
I mean,
look
you
at-
can, the pro tip is if you listen to Spotify, it usually actually buffers at least the song you're playing and maybe one or two songs after if you don't skip it.
Yeah.
So you can get you through the lulls. Or the pro tip is just have music stored on your phone and stream it via Bluetooth to your speakers, and then you've got entertainment.
As George has just said, take Starlink with you.
and you'll get a coverage all through there now. So,
Yeah, we can't.
yes.
Yeah, we're not quite ready for that yet because it's kind of occupied, but that will be an option for members to borrow a Starlink dish. Not so much while you're driving, that takes a little bit extra jigging around, but it does work. We did show that last week. I'll just try and find the photo of that, but
It just requires Harold's credit card to make it work, right?
because some idiot actually did strap his Starlink to his car just because he could. And that idiot did something like this, getting 144 megabits per second down the freeway with it strapped to the inside of his Falcon door of a Model X. So what that actually means is you can, and this is something that will be done in a little while, is strapping it to the glass roof of a Model 3 or a Model Y or whatever. And then you can have broadband internet while you're driving anywhere, because too much internet is barely enough. But let's not burden you with that extra stuff, Chris.
So,
We can get you a charge cable or adapter. We can get you a spare tire. We can lend you a tire repair kit, which is like that gummy unvulcanized rubber plug thing that you stick in, which, to be honest, I've had a flat or a slow leak, and I've put one of those patches in my car, and I've driven that car to Kaiguna twice. Return. In fact, I've driven it to Eucla, back to Perth, then to Kaiguna, carrying a 160 kilo charger and back, and the plug is still in my tyre. I've never taken it out, never got it patched, and it's still working. So we can lend you that.
So how do I mean, obviously, I'll need to sort a few of these things out in the next few days or next week. How do I contact yourself to do that?
Okay, so I've just put my mobile number in chat, or you could actually, if you rang 62623131, which is Tokwa's helpline. I'm not going to call it a 24-hour helpline, please. But yeah, just ring me on that number in the chat, and we can sort it out pretty quickly. And I can coach you on how to do the trip.
I'm quite surprised, well, a bit surprised, now that I've seriously started looking at it, as to just how much this whole industry is in its infancy, and I can fast forward 2 or 3 years, we'll probably all be looking back at this and laughing, because there's just going to have to be a massive infrastructure spend on charging stations as the tidal wave of EVs hit the road,
Absolutely, Chris. And don't forget, we're a good 5 years behind the rest of the world, so especially in WA. But if you look at countries like Norway, where last year, 95% of their new car sales were cars that had a plug. So, petrol was 2.5% roughly, diesel was like 2.2%. So, and they've got a electrical grid that's worse than ours, and they've managed to make it work. So, as you said, in 3 years' time, it will be because we'll have no choice. We don't make the Commodores and the Falcons in Australia anymore. We can only buy what the rest of the world sells. And in most other markets around the world, they're talking about, so UK, it's illegal to sell a internal combustion engine car after 2030. So, none of these manufacturers are going to be making petrol cars for too much longer. So we'll have no choice whether we want to or not. So it's just a matter of removing some of those blockages that are stopping. Harold had a very good news story in the opening section where Robin Denholm, the chairwoman of Tesla, said, that everything's there. They can install a charger within a couple of days. They've got the equipment, they've got the funds, they're getting the customers. All they need, it takes a year for the approval process, which she said is 4 times longer than anywhere else in the region. So it's just bureaucracy that's really stopping the, mass adoption of EVs.
Yeah.
So one thing to that end, the West Australian government, via Synergy and Horizon Power, have committed to have a full statewide network completed effectively by the end of next year. And basically what it comprises of, is all these locations. In fact, this map's old, so it actually also includes Baladonia, Kaiguna, Madura Pass and Eucla as all having fast DC chargers, as well as all of these charger locations here. So you can go all the way from Perth to Esperance, to Kalgoorlie, to Eucla and to Kununurra via fast DC charging. And that has been committed to be completely finished by January 2024, which is really only 18 months away.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, well, that's good. I mean, that's what they really need to be doing to prepare.
Well, it should have been done 3 years ago, but better late than never. But yeah.
Wait a while.
So, Chris, look, it's going to be for you. It's going to be a baptism of fire, sort of. It's not actually hard. You need to be prepared for a 3-day trip.
Yeah.
So, just off the top of my head, you leave Adelaide.
I'm just going to throw it in there.
Go, Shane.
I was only half joking when I said I'm seriously contemplating maybe driving him over. I'm only half joking, Chris. It's not a complete joke.
I'd take him up on that offer.
Depending on timing, you might be able to get a one-way, a training trip one way, and then, yeah.
That sounds like an offer to me, Chris. I'd take him up on that.
Yeah, well, I haven't done the trip before, so it's kind of just one of those things to tick off the list, just to say you've done it. But I don't know whether it's boring as batshit, to be honest, or worth with a bit of scenery to look at. I don't know. I haven't done it, so. But I imagine one way is probably enough.
Yeah, I'd say
23 times, 23 one-way trips.
Yeah,
never.
I'd say it's the latter, Chris. And one thing that's fairly unique, which won't stay unique for too long, is that at the moment there's still a bit of a adventurous element to it.
Yeah.
You leave it 12 months, and it will be like Hay Street. So there'll be charges everywhere. And you'll be able to charge every couple of 100 kilometres, so there won't be any, skill or anything else to it.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'll weigh it up. It would be a bit of an adventure without being, too crazy. But I think maybe flying there just takes the edge off the long drive back. To drive there and drive back is a lot of time behind the wheel and sit in the car.
It's
might
a
be
good
bit much.
drive, Chris. You'll enjoy it. It's a fabulous drive.
Yeah.
The other thing I think is worth doing is with your ChargeFox is getting an RFID card. You won't need it a lot on that trip, but you will need it probably at Lake Grace or something. But it's a lot easier to operate the machines where they're applicable with the RFID card. You just swipe it across the charger and it instantly hooks you in.
Yeah, I agree with that one. It's I found it quite useful.
It's also free, Chris. So when you register with ChargeFox, you just need to register with an email address and a password, basically, and then you put in your credit card details. You can then just it's under your account or menu, whatever item. Just click, I want to send me an RFID card, and they'll send you one for free. And by the way, if you have a MyFair card that you're already using, and its serial number, you can actually enter that directly into your account and use that as the token, provided you know the hexadecimal serial number of your MyFair card, if you happen to have one.
I don't know what one is.
Oh, sorry, it's like a lot of companies for access control to get all buildings and stuff. They'll use a MyFair card. In fact, your Smart Rider is a MyFair card that can actually work as well. But in any case, you can just log on to the ChargeFox account and just order one, and they'll post it out to you within a couple of weeks.
And don't forget to register your RAC membership number on ChargeFox. You'll get a 20% discount.
Yep. I never get that discount. I don't know if you got to do something else, but I've never had the discount.
It used to be only applicable to high speed, to the it had to be a super fast type charger.
Yeah, I don't think you're old enough, Pete. You're going to be a little bit older. So
the Bridgetown charger a Thursday last week, and got a discount.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Cool. So it's only the fast DC chargers, not the
you
got not everything on ChargeFox. So it's not the AC chargers or minor chargers. It's only the RACs.
That was a 50 kilowatt DC charger. I was only getting 44, 45, which is about normal. But I got 20% discount.
So Chris, just sleep on it for a day or two. Rest assured, it's not arduous. It's not tricky. It's not hard. It's just got a method to it, and you'll be able to make it, and it'll be an adventure. And something it's something to tick off a bucket list. And like I said, and we're available, and I'm certainly available to coach you on the way. If you like, we can get into like very minor into the weeds. Rather than doing the 110 k's an hour, which you'd be accustomed to, if you can sort of slot it down to say 100 k's an hour, or depending on conditions, even a little bit slower, you'll find you spend less time, a little bit more time on the road, but less time by the side of the road, charging, because the rate at which you can charge on AC is less than the speed you're doing on the road. So therefore, it makes sense to slow down a little bit to make your efficiency a bit more. Another pro tip is it's winter. So what you should do is when you get up, actually pre-warm your car while it's still plugged in. So turn the air conditioner on, which you do via the Tesla app, and get it nice and warmed up for yourself by the time you hop in the car and unplug the AC. And what you could do then is just turn the heater off and use your seat heaters, because that'll save. How old? How old is your Model 3 that you're looking at?
Oh, it's a December 21, so 6 months old.
Oh, right. So it'll have the heat pump. So actually, almost forget what I said. The heating will be quite efficient. So yeah, don't worry about heating. You can just leave it on. If it's a quite a new car, so that'll be fine. And obviously charge it to 100%. Or we can get into these weeds later, but charge it to 100% in the morning, because you want the first charge you want as full as possible. And then the trick is the last trip, you should try and aim to turn up as almost as empty as possible, so
Yeah.
you're not spending too much time
Charging.
charging and wasting time at the other end.
Hmm.
But just be flexible with your schedule. You can sort of map it out. You know, if you aim to do 600 k's a day, you know, that's quite a comfortable sort of pace. You'll go quite quickly across the Nullarbor. So again, try and plan. If you can try and get to Border Village by night time, or you know, by evening, then charge up fully at Border Village, and then you can slam across the Nullarbor straight to Norseman. Absolutely easy peasy, like in a day, easy.
Right. Okay.
You know, and then if you're overnight at Norseman, you can then get to Perth in the day again. So really, you've got let's call it a Norseman overnight, Border Village overnight, a Kimber, depending whatever, somewhere near there, overnight out of Adelaide, something like that.
Yeah.
So so let's call it three nights, 3 nights, 4 days.
With a DC top of Balladonia and Majura Pass on the way through.
Like it, yeah. And if you're just sort of flexible, I mean, obviously you might want to rigging ahead to make sure there is accommodation available, because you don't want to sleep in your car. Really, it's not that fantastically comfortable, but doable. I mean,
It's not too bad.
Yeah, Pete's done it.
It's not too
Only under
Well,
pressure.
Well, Chris, you'll have camp mode. So first of all, the car's going to render a little fireplace for you on the screen to make you nice and cozy and comfortable. And then you'll be able to regulate your temperature throughout the whole night. So, you know, when you go to bed at night in your house, unless you've got the aircon on, the temperature lowers throughout the night, whereas this will stay nice and constant. The only thing to watch out for is when the sun comes up, because you've got a glass ceiling, you'll get that sun hitting your face, so you'll wake up. So I usually just keep a hat and just put the hat over my face, or you could put some night goggles on or what have you. But look, it's actually fairly comfortable. It's not uncomfortable at all.
And with winter, Pete, then it's a later sunrise.
True. Yep.
And don't forget, one of the apps that Harold has got and I've got is Windy, because if you're driving into a high wind, your range will suffer. And if it's pelting down with rain, your range will suffer. I had that problem last week. From Eton to Manjimup and back is about 260 k's. And I thought, yeah, I should be able to manage it. But I had a strong headwind and driving rain, and I got to Manjimup and I'd used 60%. And that was driving a bit slower than I normally do.
Actually, Nigel, you might want to put up, Harold's doing it.
No,
because
sorry,
there's
mate.
a few-
It won't work.
Didn't work.
There's a few windy apps. There's windy weather. There's windy. So just show them the icon so you can see it.
Oh, gotcha.
I've uninstalled mine, unfortunately.
I'll just spotlight myself.
It's. I think it comes up under windy.com.
Yeah, it's the one with the little or sort of double V.
Yeah,
on the
so you can see it.
background.
You can probably see it pretty clearly there on the left. Windy.
Yep. Yep. I got it. Yep.
Cool.
Hey, quick question: is there a app with elevations, like an elevation?
Google Maps does it if you go and click onto push bike. If you click on bicycle, I think it shows elevation difference. But I mean, Pete, for Chris's purposes, I wouldn't pollute him with that minutiae. Because
It's pretty flat anyway.
Australia's pretty flat most of the way that he's going to go, so that won't really be a big factor. But yeah,
Actually,
you can. Google does do it on push bikes.
Harold, you had a good point earlier today where you mentioned how much of a difference elevation makes. And I think you were talking about a 600-kilometre trip and only a couple of kilowatt hours. So it's not that.
Yeah, so I because I was towing, or not towing, but carrying John's tritium charger on the back of my car, and I was trying to sort of get home as quickly as possible. I was trying to get home with as little charge as possible, and I was just running some numbers. And the simple calculation is you're converting potential energy, which is height difference, to battery storage, and it's a simple conversion. Potential energy is mgh, so it's basically a factor times the weight of
Gravity
the car.
height.
Megajoule
Gravity
hours.
height. Yep. So it's let's call it 2,000 kilos by 9.8 by say 400 meters. So I know Kalgoorlie is roughly 400 meters higher than the coast. So I think once you do all the unit changes and all that sort of stuff, to convert it into from joules to kilowatt hours, it ends up being about 2 kilowatt hours to lift your car from sea level to 400 meters. You'll lose 2 kilowatt hours, and if you're going downhill, you'll effectively gain roughly 2 kilowatt hours. So it's not actually, look, if you're in Europe, in the Alpine area, it makes a big difference, but in Australia it's pretty flat and it won't really matter. Especially from one day to the next, because going across the Nullarbor, it's pretty much flat.
Going across the Nullarbor, you're always running into a headwind.
Yeah. And going across the Nullarbor, you just want to work out which place has got the freshest dim sims. You can go to that new app, that dim sim app. That's really important. Or ring ahead and say, I'll be there in a couple of hours, and you drop a couple of fresh ones in.
If the freshest coffee is
2
a bigger
hours,
problem.
that's going to be very fresh after 2 hours there, Jared.
No, but they can put them in closer. Because normally they
Right.
keep it for about 3 weeks. And they're really handy for a spare tyre, but that's about it. Not to eat.
So Chris, to give you an idea, that 2 kilowatt hours, that's like, I don't know, 10 to 15K or something. So
Yeah, I'd call it 12.
Oh, yeah. Chris, when you're on the Nullarbor, there is one thing to remember. They don't work in Australian dollars. It's a different economy there. It's add Europe, add America to it. That's about the price of a can of Coke. So, yeah, everything's Border Village is very expensive. So, yeah, just be factoring that mindset.
But you'll use autopilot a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And don't drive at night. Whatever you do, don't drive at night.
Yeah, I've been told. Yeah.
Yeah, stay off the road. 5 o'clock, get off the road. You'll see most truck drivers get off the road. Only the ones that go through are double drivers. So.
Yeah.
Another quick tip, some of those apps that Harold mentioned, like ChargeFox, NextCharge, etc. Create those accounts, while you've in the comfort of your home, while you've got plenty of time, and put all your credit card details in and everything, so that you don't want to be, wasting 10 minutes mucking around with all that with poor reception. You just want to arrive and just plug in and, and relax. So, yeah. So download all those apps, put your credit card details in, set up the accounts so that you're ready to go.
Right.
And Chris, when you go across the Nullarbor, just imagine seeing something like this.
At the 90 miles straight.
Yeah, right.
That's where you need a brick. Just put
This is Rob Dean's car going towards Kaiguna.
Put that on a Falcon.
There is where Kaiguna is, so that's the end of the straight. That's the rest of it. So that's what you're going to enjoy, is 90 miles of watching autopilot do nothing with your steering wheel, which is awesome.
How well does that work on just your regular roads? Holds the lane all right? Or?
Perfectly.
Very good. Use it all the time.
Right, okay. And that's just
All
the
the
standard autopilot,
Yep.
not the...
Standard
Yes.
autopilot.
Yep.
Nothing
Right.
fancy.
Yep.
Okay.
It works
Chris, I've done
remarkably well.
70,000 K in my Model 3 over the last 3 years. Probably did at least 40, 45, 50,000 K on autopilot. On highways, freeways, it works. It's almost, it's virtually perfect. You will in the city, on city streets, the Australian version, especially you got to be careful, especially where there's lights. It does some, strange things. But yeah, on a road like that, yeah, it's fantastic.
And always have your hand on the steering wheel.
Oh yeah.
Just one. Just normally either like your right one, and then you just lean it on your leg or the armrest next to you. Because I use it all the time.
Unless you see another Tesla, in which case you do the two-handed wave.
Oh yeah, you go. Hey.
Or you
But
do
yeah,
like
you
I
always-
do, and I just end up cleaning my glasses.
Yeah, you're always 100% responsible for the car, irrespective of what mode you've got it in. So yeah, keep that in mind. But yeah, it's yeah. We went to Kalbarri, 7-hour trip, 7.5-hour trip. 7 hours of that time, the car was driving itself, and I was just coming in for a ride in the driver's seat. And what that means is, by the time so 6 hours of driving every day sounds like a lot, or 6 or 7 hours, but you'll be a lot more tired if you were doing that in a petrol car. For two reasons. Number one, because you'll have it on autopilot, your brain doesn't have to do all those micro adjustments to keep the wheel straight. So you'll have better situational awareness, which is better for safety. But two, it won't be, won't take that much out of you.
Captain Radio.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Sorry about that. Keep going, Pete.
That actually goes to my second point, which is the noise. So, this one of the reasons why you feel jet lagged when you get off a plane is that huge noise. And, when we dropped out of the trees and, going back, 1,000 years ago, our brains developed such that if there's a noise in the background, we subconsciously monitor that noise for any variations in that noise, because it could be a woolly mammoth or a saber-toothed tiger jumping out. So that takes a bit of, brain power as well. So because the noise isn't as bad and you don't have the vibrations and you don't have the micro adjustments, you'll arrive a lot fresher than you would otherwise in a petrol car.
And perhaps point number 3, Peter, is it's a lot safer. If you need to look sideways at something on your screen, or you're looking away slightly, it's going to keep the car on the right path. You're not going to accidentally turn left as you're looking to the left. So auto steer.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
The only other thing I'd recommend to you, Chris, is if you can get a portable CB, like just a handheld unit, that would be pretty handy to have. Especially if you're going to be doing 80 Ks and a semi-trailer's coming up behind you at 100 Ks. You can hear him coming, he'll warn you. Oversized loads coming. There's a lot of oversized loads going across the Nullarbor. You'll know to either pull off the road or not, things like that. Quite handy. And also when you're on that 90-mile stretch, don't think there's no one else on the road. There's normally a cop car about 5 kilometres up the road pointing a laser at you. So just be aware of that too. They're out there, especially at daytime. They're out there. At night, they're not. They're not allowed to work on the Nullarbor at night. It's too dangerous.
Well,
the thing is, you're not going to speed anyway, because you're going to do your juice in, and then you'll be sitting by the side of the road charging for longer.
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of good tips there, guys. Thanks for that. That's.
So, Chris, you'll have to review this on YouTube later.
It's got it all noted down.
Something to review is I do have, because I rudely interrupted Pete while he was talking and gave him the perfect segue about noise. I do have the interview from Curtin FM, which
Oh, yeah.
I am going to claim as fair use policy to put it on this forum. But it's an excellent interview of John Edwards. It does go for about 10 minutes, so if you need to do a wee-wee or something, you're more than welcome to do that in the meantime. But I'll just play it now.
Curtin Radio. Well, he's a very adventurous gentleman along with his team, and I'm going to speak right now to Mr. John Edwards. John is a car owner, an engineer, an inventor, and a problem solver. Gee, you're a man of many, many things you can do, John. Good afternoon to you.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm going very, very well. I've got so much information in front of me, I don't quite know where to begin with you on this. But if you could outline the idea and the concept first of all, but it does have a difference, doesn't it?
Yes, so as per your introduction, it's the reenactment of the Perth to Sydney section of the 1968 London to Sydney rally.
Yeah.
It's 5,700 kilometre drive over 10 days, 50% bush roads. There's 80 entrants in the rally.
Wow, gosh.
So quite a few cars, and we'll be the only electric vehicle attempting this challenge.
Oh, interesting, isn't it? It's going to put it to the test. Of course, when we're looking at 5,700 kilometres, we know that there aren't enough charges along the way to keep you going. So you do have an alternative, don't you?
Yes, so there's only 2 fast chargers on the route itself over the 5,700 kilometres, but to keep with the Tesla Model 3 performance that we're using, and to keep the car in the game, obviously we have to charge it around about every 200 to 250 kilometres, depending on the wind conditions and road conditions and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
So we'll be taking 3 mobile fast charging units. They'll be leapfrogging ahead of the rally. So they'll be in position for when the Tesla arrives ready to charge. We'll plug in, do a very quick fast charge, and then the Tesla will be on its way.
Well, let's just hope when we do move into electric vehicles more so in the future that we don't have to have a mobile unit following us so we can get charged up and moved on. I think things will be a little bit more ideal for everybody, don't you?
Well, yes, and it's coming. It's coming bit by bit. There's electric highways being installed in South Australia, West Australia and over east. So it is coming, but this is just a bit of a challenge here while we're still lacking those facilities and trying to keep up with the petrol cars.
Well, the price of fuel, we're looking at something different. And tell us about the waste chip fryer oil.
Okay. So what we want to do is charge the car with power generated by renewable fuel. And we've got a source of a chip oil, fryer oil that we're putting through our generators. We do a few modifications to the generator, and we run the generators on that waste fryer oil, and that's going to be charging the electric car for the entire rally.
Goodness. That's amazing. Where did you get all this oil from?
Okay, so one of our Tesla Club guys has got a couple of McDonald's stores where we've got access to the waste fryer oil from Macca's. So we've built some custom tanks on one of the charging units. We're carrying about 1,800 litres of waste fryer oil with us to fuel the 3 charging units, and hopefully the idea is the Tesla can get from Perth to Sydney without using any fossil fuel.
Well, that is another thing that you're going to achieve, I'm sure. The waste chip fryer oil sounds a little bit sort of dubious. There might have been a few bits of potato left back in there. What do you do? Do you have to filter it or anything, first of all?
Well, you can filter it, but you can also settle it. So if we let it settle for 14 days, the impurities drop to the bottom, and then we decant the oil off. And it's pretty clear. It's like, you almost could use it again, and in it goes, and away it works.
Well, people might be tempted to try and fuel their own cars with it.
There is a few modifications you need to do to the engine.
I'm sure there is.
It's not straightforward, but yes, it can be done.
That is just unbelievable. How much are you taking with you of the oil?
Well, we're taking 1,800 litres, so we've got plenty of spare, but it's about 540 litres. I've worked out to power the Tesla from Perth to Sydney.
I've got photographs here of your backup units, the vehicles, the chargers and that sort of thing. These things, these are amazing. I mean, they don't come cheap. I mean, you put a lot of thought into all of this.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a challenge worth pursuing, I think. Just to make a statement that we actually can get these vehicles out into remote places. We're going as far north as you and me and Sandstone. It's a remote abandoned mining town, and we're going up there, and then we're heading back down to, Lake King in the south, and then across the Norseman, Flinders Ranges. We'll be going all through central New South Wales, Broken Hill and all that. So it's quite a challenge.
Look, it is. And you've mentioned 80 vehicles in total. Is that right?
Yeah, at the moment there's close on 80 vehicles registered for the rally.
That's amazing. Are they all from Perth?
Yeah. I know there's a handful from Perth, but they're mostly coming from Sydney. There's a few coming in from overseas.
Oh, wow.
So, and they're trying to get as many of the original cars and drivers from the 1968 rally. So there's several of those guys, plus a few new ring-ins as well.
And they're running on fuel, aren't they? Traditional fuel.
Yeah, they'll be running on petrol, those cars, yeah.
So you've got more of a challenge, I suppose, and obviously you're going to show everybody, and particularly all of us that are concerned about fuel and the lack of and the cost of and the environment and all sorts of things. So when you do reach your destination, which is Sydney, where are you leaving from exactly?
So where are we leaving from?
Yeah, where and what date?
So it's the 28th of October.
Yeah.
We're leaving from Perth. I'm not exactly sure the departure point. There was Langley Park originally, but I think it's been changed from there. There's a bit of shuffling around with that. But if you could appreciate this, there's 80 vehicles leaving, and they're going to leave at 1 minute apart. So that's close on an hour and a half of departure time. So it's going to be quite a sight to see.
It's going to be a very big sight to see, and we'll have to make sure that we know that where you are leaving from, so that traffic can be out of the way, so we'll get through. So you'll be taking up Great Eastern Highway first of all, or down south?
Yeah. So it heads north to a place called Myling. There's 200 k's, and then Paynes Find, you and me. Turn down south, we end up in Southern Cross at the end of day one.
Okay. Now, John, a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind. You are the car owner, are you, the Tesla?
Correct.
You're right. And tell us what it's like. You do drive it around, do you, in the city? That sort of
I don't actually drive it. I've got a professional rally driver, Jürgen Lanzmann. He's an accomplished rally driver and driving instructor.
Yeah.
He drives the car, and his co-driver is his lovely wife, Helen.
Oh, right. So you won't be in the vehicle?
I won't be in the competition vehicle. I'll be in a Tesla Model Y, hopefully. I'll be following the rally via the overnight stops and just coordinating the charging assets, who needs to be where and when and all the rest of it. So it's quite a big logistical task to get all those guys organised. So that's what I'll be doing.
This has been in the planning for a long time, I'm sure.
Yes, we've been working on it for a fair while, and we've got a fair bit more to do yet. As you can appreciate, we've got to organise accommodation and catering for everybody. And we've got a team of 12 people. We're getting a drone operator, filmmaker from Sydney to come with us to document the whole thing.
Wonderful.
So quite a crew.
That is going to be... Is it the formation of getting this idea sort of on the road, so to speak? Is it a car club that you are part of?
Not this particular rally. This is a guy in Sydney, Laurie Mason, who's come up with this idea. He's been working on it for several years. It was going to run last year in 21, but because of COVID and everything else, it got put off till this year. It's his kind of little project to do this reenactment, and he invited us to join the rally because the idea of the rally is the manufacturers demonstrating their new technology and things like that.
Yeah.
And he figured that having electric in there would be a nice addition.
That'd be fantastic. And you're a problem solver, John. I can see when, telling us about the planning of it, you must have to be.
Sort of things that you wouldn't believe crop up that need to be solved. But I got a great team, and we get our heads together, and we can really work out the most difficult problems and get moving and keep the car on the road.
A car enthusiast's absolute dream, I would imagine this would be. Absolutely wonderful.
Well, more like a nightmare, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, I'm sure you will, all of you. The 28th of October, we really have to find out more about it as the date gets a bit closer.
Sure.
If you wouldn't mind letting us know so we can tell the public where you're going to be, where you're taking up from, because they might want to wave you off, that's all.
Awesome. Yes, we'll do that. Quite happy to do that.
Thank you. Thank you. Lovely to speak to you, John.
Very good.
Thank
Cheers.
you. How about that, eh?
Curtin Radio. And there you go. Thanks to Curtin Radio.
Yeah. Well done, John.
Radio
Well, that was, we've got to give credit to Julianne, who's Joseph's girlfriend. She contacted that radio station, arranged that interview, and I was quite impressed with the questions that lady asked. So yeah, look, there's growing interest in this thing. So if anyone else got any contacts or things like that, Pete, maybe the West Australian wants to run another story at some stage, bit by bit, we'll let everyone know about it.
It's already being organised, John. So
Okay.
the reporter's got all the info. Harold, would you just mind putting that link in the chat? I might forward her that link too. So,
Oh, you mean the Perth to Sydney Marathon?
yeah, what we've just listened to.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, the interview.
The Curtin one.
It's actually, I think it's going to be a frangible MP3, but I can email it to you, Pete, or
Okay, well,
share it
whatever.
somehow.
Whatever's,
So
yeah.
I think, John, when you sent me the email, I think the email from Curtin Radio said it was going to last for 7 days.
Yeah.
But I'll work out a way to get it to you, Pete, so you can pass it on as a link.
Have you recorded it, Harold?
No, I've just downloaded the MP3 file.
So, but that you've saved it, like it's.
Yes, I've saved it. So
it's not going to disappear.
It's not going to disappear.
Actually, we're cutting a new CD. It's coming out soon.
Yeah, that's right.
It'll be on iTunes.
In fact, I was going to put it on a CD for Chris, so when he goes across another boy, he can just go over and over again every 10 minutes.
That's dangerous, Harold. That's dangerous practice.
Well, he'll be safe because he'll be driving an autopilot, so it's all right.
Yeah, but he could easily fall asleep with that sort of stuff. I mean, that's very dangerous, that kind of stuff, those radio stations.
But yeah, I will.
That rally, is that a race or what is it?
It's a official drug run, to be honest with you. It's they call it the Mule Run in Mexico, but we're doing it out here in Australia. It's a bit different. So
it's more of an endurance challenge, right? So it's not officially timed, because as soon as you start timing these things, there's also all sorts of issues with Motorsport Australia and all that. So it's not officially timed, but obviously they're going to keep track of how all the entrants go in the thing. So it's really a endurance test over 10 days to see how 50% gravel. So the car's going to be out on gravel roads, creek crossings, that sort of stuff. So it should be good.
Have you got PPF on the car, John? I bet you don't.
PPF.
Got what?
Paint protection film. I bet you don't have it.
Not at $6,000 or whatever it is Nigel was paying for it. It's no way.
And that's the pyramid look, John. That's different.
Right, no, he's got a Tokwa sticker on the bonnet, so that'll be.
Tokwa, that's my paint protection. That's awesome. Perfect.
So some go for the clear finish, others go for the matte finish. Some do the prism finish, and the green team does the Tokwa finish.
We've got a few spare ones rolled up in the boot if we need to take it off, put a new one on. Different colours. We've got a blue one, we've got orange, all sorts of different colours.
Oh dear.
Isn't it very similar? Chris, it's very similar to America, where they do the same sort of rallies. I think it's called a cannonball, and it is timed, I believe.
The cannonball run.
Yeah.
Like they did in the Northern Territory.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
until someone died, and then
lorry driver, to recall.
He was a marshal, and
Wow, I
he
didn't know
was
that.
actually friends of my ex-girlfriend's family, and there's actually it's
There's a monument there on the road.
Oh, wow.
well, there was a photo taken by a photographer, and you could see the two marshals, and one was a gentleman who died, and one went left and the other one went right, and there was this. It was like a Lamborghini something, or a
It was a Ferrari, I think, wasn't it?
or a Ferrari,
Pretty Ferrari.
like that, and it was basically sideways coming towards, well, the cameraman, sorry, the photographer and the two marshals, and I think 2 out of 3 of them went one way, the other one went the other way, and that gentleman got cleaned up and killed, and that was it for the Cannonball Run. That, I think it was the inaugural one, and that it was never done again because you know. You
Didn't
only
one of the
live once.
drivers die as well? I thought one of the drivers died as well. I think
I
it was
thought-
a Japanese guy.
Yeah, I heard that. But I
Oh,
don't know.
There's
I'm
been a
pretty
lot
sure-
of deaths in Tasmania with rallies lately too. Every year.
That's the Target Tasmania, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure this an Italian driver, I think, and he was in the Ferrari, and I think he lost his life as well.
oh, okay.
But it was so tragic at the time because those guys were controlling the race, and it was just a shame, terrible.
Yeah, and like I said, for me, it was quite it cut fairly close. I mean, I didn't know the gentleman myself, but my girlfriend's family did. My girlfriend at the time, and yeah, it was terrible. You know, because they were just volunteers being marshals, and it's all fun until someone dies. You know,
I've
but
got a photograph of the monument somewhere because I've stopped there along the road where it was. So.
yeah, yeah. I presume, Pete, that's south of Tennant Creek.
Oh yeah, gee, I can't be sure now. I think it is.
So here's an article.
So can you scroll up there, the photos?
Well,
or-
I'm just also highlighting that 4 people died when this Japanese driver, as Peter was saying, he lost control of his Ferrari and took out 4.
Oh.
And this
No, it
is
wasn't.
the incident with the driver ran into, where is it? Yep.
Officials skidded plus one. Yeah.
Because
Because
I'm
there was
pretty
a-
sure
there's a-
Alan Moffat arranged the whole run, and wasn't good into it.
Yeah, right. Because there is that photo of that car being sideways, coming right for the camera, basically. But
Okay, let's just.
Yeah, that one.
All right. Car's going fast, but just
How many
because you
people-
drive road, move road. Yeah, okay. I'll
Hey, John, how
return
many
that.
people are going with you? How many crew are you taking?
So at the moment, we've got a team of 11. So
Is
we've
Harold
got,
on that team? Is Harold? Have you got him driving somewhere?
these are people actually doing the rally. We've got probably another 20 back here support the sport team, including Harold. But yeah, I won't let any of them go. There's 2 people per vehicle because we need someone concentrating on driving and someone concentrating on, navigating, making sure we go to the right spot and all the rest of the other bits and pieces. And if somebody's getting tired, there's a lot of driving in this, even for the charging crew. So
Yeah.
if people are getting tired, they've got to swap over.
And so, John, how much is Elon helping out?
We're not really getting any help from that direction, but
Drop off the Model Y, take it happily.
we the other thing, without trying to get any bad karma going, is that most of this rally, or all of this rally, is at road speed limits, so there won't be any huge fast stuff like we do in Targa West. So and Jürgen is an accomplished, experienced driver and driving instructor, so I'm not expecting to have too many problems with the competition car. And also the charge crew are going to be driving at 80 or 90 k's an hour in there. These trucks, you can't really do much more than 100 anyway. So overall, I'm not expecting any problems. We do have satellite phones in each vehicle, so we will be able to make contact if there is any problems. but hopefully it all goes smoothly, goes to plan, and where everyone has a good time. That's the idea.
Which satellite phones are you using, John?
All right, so we've got a couple. Nigel Ball donated 5 phones from his business. There's couple of types. Is it Iridium? And then and there's what's the other one? There's another one.
I just know the Iridium one.
The Iridium one's one of the best.
Anyway, there's 2 of those that we're going to use, and then we're going to hire another 3 from the organisers, so that everyone's got a sat phone in the car, in their vehicle for the trip. And Harold's helping me set up a Starlink as well. We're going to take along so that we can have some high-speed internet through the trip as well.
Oh, you need that broadband.
Yeah. Yes.
And most of the sponsors are pretty interested in that, because we potentially might be live streaming certain things, and we want to upload videos to YouTube and stuff like that. So that'll be really helpful.
John, so I'm sure you'll charge some reasonable rates to use the Starlink.
Is Rob going with you, President?
No, Rob's not coming at the moment. So I've got a couple of people from outside the circle. There's a guy called Rod Dilks. He's a guy from Margaret River that's helped us out in some of the rallies down there. He's coming along. There's a couple other guys. We've got a pretty good team. We've got Andrew Harvey. He's a Tesla guy. He's awesome. So we actually got a pretty good hand-picked team at the moment that I'm pretty happy with. All of them except Rod Dilks have got Teslas, so that makes them good, I suppose.
It's going to be awesome. I'd love to tag along, but I'll probably be doing a lap before before John's thing. So I don't know if I could. I'm going to make a fairly big withdrawal from my family bank account.
Right.
What would you call it? Personal, emotional bank account. So I don't know if it's going to withstand another withdrawal of a couple of weeks jaunt across another bore and back. So, but I'll be supporting John in other ways.
Yeah, awesome.
That just and not to want to put a bummer on that, because we'll just bookend that. I did find the actual photo of this Cannonball Run just very quickly, and it was this photo taken here.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't know who it was, whether it was these 2 gentlemen, but that one went one way, one went the other, and this is the Ferrari out of control. And as the article says, it basically cleaned up 2 of the marshals. Whatever. I'm not exactly sure how many now, but anyway, that's that little.
That's awful.
Respect to those guys.
And that's I think where as John has said, this Perth to Sydney rally is not a race. Yes, they'll be timing it for informal purposes, but I guess you get some sort of somewhat unofficial bragging rights, but its intention is to traverse the thing, and it was really a demonstration of endurance.
Yeah,
can these cars actually make it? Across the middle of nowhere. And in John's electric car, it's even more important because it demonstrates it can go off-road and it can still charge and still operate reliably. Oh, and John, what were you saying in general terms about the feedback that the team was getting during the rally events? Because every time Jürgen would do a stage, what sort of maintenance activity would he do at the end of the stage?
Well, yeah. So I guess just over the last 3 years or 4 years we've been doing this, we've had lots of comments when we're doing these rallies. Well, how long extension? Have you got the extension cord long enough to reach to Northcliffe? You get all those kind of things. Well, they've all died off. We don't actually hear those anymore, right? And actually, they're all taking notice because we're actually beating them all. We're winning all these different categories, right? So there's that. And then the other thing that crops up is, obviously a lot of these petrol competitors are asking, what are we doing to the car and this and that. Well, we don't do anything to the car. I mean, between rallies, there's nothing to do to the car. The only thing we've done is once a year we change the brake discs and put some new brake pads on it. But other than that, what else is there to do? So all these other petrol guys are all there, got their spanners and they're pulling off heads and changing valves and, hoses and filters and all that. Well, Jürgen doesn't do anything. Car sits in the workshop and nobody touches it between events. So, it's actually, and it hasn't had a service even, right? And what would be great to do is to get up on the podium in Sydney, because hopefully we're going to win our category because we're the only one in it. But to get up there and say, well, look, we've done 3 years of Targa West events. We won this category, that category. We've completed this rally, and the car hasn't even had a service. It's going to be a great message to try and to deliver to these guys. It's all part of the messaging that we're trying to.
Are you letting Tesla know, John? Are Tesla aware of this?
Well, I don't know how to let them know, really. I mean, we're not doing Twitter, and a couple of people have suggested to me that we should get a Twitter thing going, and somehow that's how they get to know what's going on.
Yeah.
And I'm not really social media savvy, so I'd need to get someone in my team to start working on that.
I know somebody that's not on your team that's hasn't got much hair that could probably sort that out pretty quickly.
He's already. Let's just say he's already had a quiet word to John. If he's permitted to speak of himself in the third or whatever.
If that person, it could have been talking about Paul.
It'll be sorted.
It's
just great.
The other thing that I think is going to be really awesome, and if you can spread the word amongst your other Tesla and EV friends, is we're going to try and organise this gathering on the 28th up at a couple hundred k's out of town at Myling, right? So we're going to kick this rally off by sending cars, EVs and Teslas back the other way at 1 minute apart. So all the petrol competitors are going to see all these Teslas coming. Oh, there's a Tesla, there's another Tesla, another Tesla, another Tesla. And that's going to be entrenched into their minds from day one, right at the start. It's going to be a talking point for the rest of the rally. And I just think that's a great way of getting the message to get it. They'll be talking about it. Everyone will be talking about it. It's going to be, I think that's going to be very effective way of getting that message to them that there are these cars and there's plenty of them out there.
Maybe we should all get Tesla bonnet things. Copies, put the red Tesla logo on the bonnet.
Yeah.
On that. But I'll come.
I think that's an awesome idea because it really puts it in their face. And as you say, they'll remember that for a long time.
Yeah. They'll probably think we're a bunch of dicks, but it doesn't matter. It's
good promotion.
Myling's only 196 k's from Perth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be there.
So we'll have a charging unit there, and Jürgen will arrive. Jürgen's going to be one of the first few cars. They're going to get him going early in the rally. So he'll be there about 8:30 in the morning. So what we want to do is people find somewhere to stay or drive up there early in the morning. Rob Dean's been up there. There's a little oval there, place where he's going to camp and that. And then Jürgen will stop and do some charging, and then we'll start sending cars back the other way. This sort of bit of an exercise should be a good thing.
Yeah, definitely get social media onto it, John.
Yeah.
Saturate it.
Yeah, where'd you get that from, Harold?
Just from Google. That's as far as Google went to the oval.
Okay.
Mylingh.
Yeah. So.
Cool.
So there you go. So it's going to be a good little jaunt.
Yeah.
And look, it's just a great demonstration that once again an EV can keep its own with all the other cars, and like the ACT, it's getting off its ice habit, and the rest of Australia is going to follow suit pretty soon.
Maybe we should send out an email to all the members so that they can plan this ahead of time, so they're not double booked or they're aware that it's on. Fabulous idea.
I guess we could do is we could send out a save the date, because I mean it is a long way in the future. I mean, it's sorry, what date is that? 27th of October.
28th of October.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sure,
Yeah.
there's a
There'll
safety
be
date, correct? That's
quite a
right.
number of Model Ys by then as well. So
Oh yes.
yeah.
Oh yes.
I mean, ours will be. We only got an email about early or mid-August or something for delivery. So it'll be pretty cool.
So for everyone's reference, the 28th of October is a Friday. So just an FYI there.
Yeah.
But that's a great way to have a long weekend. Is
Yeah.
take the day off
Definitely.
and go up to Myling on the Friday.
Yeah.
There'd be no accommodation at Myling, would there? To be a camp job, wouldn't it, up there?
Oh, there's a 5-star hotel there, Pete, that you can stay at.
I can imagine,
The Dogwood Plus, it's called.
And there's a few other places around New North here, and there's a few other places scattered around. You don't necessarily have to stay right there.
That's right.
And it is only a 2-hour drive. So if you left if you left home at 6 a.m., you'd be there at 8, and and the action's all going to happen about 8:30. So there's several different options.
Yep. I think it's good. I'll be there.
Cool. That'd be great.
I'll do a big nudie run right across the front just to get it going.
Okay.
Well, they better put a big Tesla badge on the front of you.
There'll be a big Tesla badge covering up the
No, on your back.
I think it's just good to generate a bit of publicity, get the
Yeah.
So no, good on you, John. I reckon you're a champion for doing it. Good work.
All right. Well, just let us know when
Yeah,
you're going to
good
do.
idea.
Just let us know when you're going to do the street run, because I've got this professional photographer guy from Sydney, Ed
Yeah,
Hayes.
he'll need a long lens just to get that.
I'll get him rigged up with his zoom lens. Yeah.
And therapy. He'll need a shitload of therapy after he's taken these photos.
I was going to say a wide angle lens, but I'm not going to do it.
It's not going to put this way. It's going to take a long time to get this shit out of his head after he's taken those photos. He's going to be mentally scarred for quite a while. So, actually, I could probably see a lawsuit. So maybe just make sure you get him to sign something before he takes the photo.
Might see you for PTSD.
Yeah, that's absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, they got those cameras that can track the Falcon 9, so you'll be able to track you.
Some ladies have called it the Falcon 9, Paul, over the years.
The Falcon 1.
I like to call it the Falcon 8 myself. But
Right, on that note, I'm going to go to sleep. Good
All
chat,
right.
guys.
Good
John,
night,
well
John.
done.
We'll update you as things unfold.
Yeah,
Thanks.
absolutely.
Thanks for your support.
Thanks for that.
Good day.
Take care, mate.
See you, buddy.
And what we hope is for all those other rally cars that are participating, they'll eventually end up here.
Isn't that Carousel Shopping Centre? I thought that was Carousel.
Well, it's not quite, but it's near enough.
Mm.
So there you go.
Yeah.
What a pioneer, John Edwards. Work,
Yeah,
John.
absolutely.
Pioneer.
The great thing is, a lot of what he started was because he didn't want to feel like a second-class citizen driving an EV.
Yep.
And that's the whole point,
Yeah, good on him. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm going to say before I head off, last Friday, Leonie and I went out for a test drive for the Model Y.
Oh, yeah.
And the
It was
place
last
is
Friday,
still,
wasn't it?
yeah, last Friday.
Yeah.
And the place was chockers.
It was.
And you're just going, what the hell? Like it's during the week and there's people everywhere. But the car was awesome. Like I actually even drove it.
So is Leonie going to be happy with a Model 3, Paul?
Trust me, when I was driving it, I was trying not. It was almost like you're betraying, your current love, which I'm sitting in at the moment. And yeah, it was very interesting how well built it was, and how silent it was in comparison with the acoustic glass and stuff like that, and how well it was. I liked it a lot actually.
Well,
But
guess what? The best car is your next car.
No, I'm keeping my 3. I love the performance. I put my foot down and I love it. So where the standard range was, it was nice, but not the same experience sort of stuff.
No, it takes a while to lose your license.
The Model Y looks good next to the Model S. It's you can see how much taller it is,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
it's not much narrower, but it's a great fit.
Yeah, no, it's a nice car, right?
I still like the Model S Plaid. I still reckon that would be
Oh yeah, but
that's
couple
definitely
of
my
years,
dream car. You know.
But you can't
couple
buy
of
it for
years.
love nor money at the moment.
Yeah,
So-
well, that's just a matter of time, Harold. But I mean, that's going to change.
But you know
Once
what,
they get
Jared?
that-
Time is something that no one can buy.
I know.
Yeah.
But once they get that second cafeteria done in the Gigafactory, they'll start Model S Plaid. It's like that cafe number 43 starts up, it'll be on. And yeah, that's going to be my dream car.
Yes, well, one day, but the biggest problem is that they haven't got symmetrical firewalls, so they've got to build a specific right-hand drive version, sadly. So it's going to take time.
One weekend, one afternoon with those boys, they'll knock it out.
It surprises me it's not a common firewall for both cars, because they've done that previously.
They have, and I'm struggling. I'm trying to find the actual image. Unfortunately, I don't have a production crew of thousands to help me, so I've got to try and do it myself while looking at the camera, which is kind of hard. But yeah, it's pretty disappointing that when Munro
pulled it down.
the Model S Plaid, they showed the firewall, and it's clearly just intended for left-hand drive. Whereas the Model Ys built everywhere in the world, so even at Texas, have got the dual penetrations for the steering column and the brake pedal and accelerator assembly. They've got the duality of left and right-hand drive. But in Tesla's wisdom, the Model S and probably the Model X is custom asymmetrical, which is just crazy. But
I suppose it's like 100,000 cars in total, and as opposed to a few million. So there,
You've got the
you know what
order
they're
in
like.
for the X, haven't you, Harold?
yes, actually, I've got here. It is. Here's the Model S Plaid, and you can see this is on the left-hand side, and that's the penetration for the steering column, and the brake pedals. I think is this assembly here, this penetration here, and then I think I have the Model Y one. Oh yeah, here, and this is the Model Y, which has got steering column, brake pedals, and accelerator.
Yeah, right.
So they're completely symmetrical for the Model Y, but the Model S is just not, and that's probably why it's going to take almost forever to get the right-hand drive Model S or X. Yeah, I did order one back in January last year, and I'll be lucky if I get it in January 2024, I think.
Yeah.
So that's just a cool 3 years of
Waiting.
waiting.
It'll be worth it. We'll shit on any other
That's
cars
why-
in the market.
Well, that's why I'm in the in-betweeny Model Y, because by the time my mythical Model X arrives, the Model Y will only be 18 months old or something like that, and I can probably flip it and get a Model X, and then I can flip that when I get the mythical Cybertruck.
The new Model X would be awesome, I reckon, because they're really refined.
Yeah,
That'd be
I agree
awesome.
with you. That one.
Yeah.
The new Model X is going to be good.
The horizontal screen is great for presentation. The aircon vents, where you've got the Model 3 and Model Y style, where you've got all that control and the cleanliness of it, and the drivetrain is awesome, and the battery pack, the efficiency of it. For me personally, having the lay flat seats means I can have storage from the back of the car all the way to the back of the front seats, which would be awesome. Flat storage.
Yeah.
Well, you do fit in the boot quite well, Harold.
Well, the number of bodies I can fit in that car is something cruel. I could probably have a dozen at least, without having to break too many bones, So it's going to be awesome. And the great thing is that the new Falcon Wing doors have ultrasonic sensors, so they don't try and murder you or guillotine you as they close. So that's going to be a bonus too. But again, it's only an in-betweeny for the Cybertruck, which is the only thing that
Mm.
really matters.
But
Oh,
the,
sorry,
cyber,
except for
the
the semi.
Cybertruck's only temporary till the semi comes, isn't it?
I was going to say, and then
The Cybertruck.
Performance semi.
Well, I've decided tonight with the Cybertruck that I'm definitely getting the Prism wrap. Because I think the Prism wrap is just going to highlight my eyes. So the Prism wrap is definitely the
Maybe
go.
polish it, get a mirror finish or something. So then that
Yeah.
way,
Why
no
did-
one, it looks like you're invisible as you're driving around.
well, you could paint it in Vanta black or something like that, and then it will literally be
Camouflage?
invisible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Full camouflage.
It's going to be the Cybertruck's going to be so awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
I can't wait for it. I really can't.
And that's something that will hopefully feature. Pete's not there, but maybe Pete's lurking in the background. Or maybe he's just preparing the kitty litter for his doghouse. He's back.
He's just getting.
He's stuffing his face again.
Hey, I don't know if have you guys noticed tonight that Pete's looking like one of the European soccer players from Manchester United with that jumper on and that 5-day
that's
growth,
nice.
and he's looking very like straight off the plane, and he's
Well,
muted.
actually-
Can't
well,
hear anything you're saying, Pete. You're muted.
Since Pete's been on the ATP tour and he's
Yeah.
a famous tennis player,
He is.
high ranking at that,
Yeah.
I would have thought that the
He
less
was top
famous soccer
five.
players would pay homage and visit Pete
Yeah.
as one of their personal heroes.
Yeah.
So,
100%. He was number 7, didn't you say, Harold, as ball boy?
No, he was
He said it was 7th rank in ball boy. That's what
Pete's too modest to say the famous other
ball collector.
not quite so famous other tennis players that he's been in company with, but Pete's entitled to his privacy. We as a very special person or very important person, we don't want to embarrass Pete.
What
by
privacy? He's in the Sunday Times every week. He's selling mats on the side. What privacy? He's on the radio. He's on the television. We watch him today, tonight. There's no privacy with him anymore. And he's got his dodgy his mat business going on the Facebook. What privacy? He was definitely highly ranking on the tennis scene. There's no question about that.
Absolutely.
Definitely not highly ranking. I had a ranking, but definitely not a high one.
It was, yeah.
I had a high juniors ranking, but that doesn't mean anything.
Well, it means a lot to many people, Pete, and you're still on the interwebs, and that's what counts.
Exactly.
Because you're infinitely higher ranked than I ever was. I'll give you a giant tip. All right. So, what was the other thing I was going to think of? Oh, yes. Something I didn't bother to put in the news because we'd already mentioned it a few weeks ago, and we presume everyone remembers the news that they listened to intently. But obviously, tomorrow is going to be Tesla's Q2 earnings call.
Christmas
and that's
Day.
going to be at 5:30 a.m. our time, sharp-ish. And I think...
Well, it all depends on whether Elon's going to be on. If he's going to be on, he might be 3 or 5 minutes late.
I did see pictures of Elon on a boat 2 days ago in the Greek Isles or something.
Yes, and his plane did go from Mykonos to the States, but now I believe it's actually undergoing maintenance somewhere in the US. So the theory now is he's going to have to use the SpaceX private plane to do his traveling while his normal regular Elon jet gets maintained.
I got really excited because there was a tweet and something along the lines of going from AUS or coming to AUS. And I went, oh. And then I realised it might have been Austin. But
I know, it's terrible. Bloody Austin. Why do they have AUS? It's ridiculous. Yeah. Even if AUS happens to be Austin's first 3 letters, I mean, that's...
I could just see Elon Musk coming to here and staying in a private hotel somewhere and fucking...
No.
Camping out the front, stalking him like a
Jared, no, it wouldn't happen. He'd have to just bunk in the one of our minor bedrooms, because he'd probably ask nicely, and we might just let him in, maybe. I mean, Pete's got a couple of Model 3s, and they are very comfortable to sleep in. So, Elon has
I'm sure that Elon wouldn't mind sleeping on the couch, but I don't know about his probably his security detail that he's travelling with would probably want to sleep on the couch.
He's actually done so at the Gigafactory in in Fremont during the Model 3 ramp, when they were in the third stage of hell or whatever, in the production ramp. He actually stayed on the couch, and then someone
Ben Stallings.
bought a what's the name, a convertible couch or whatever into a bed.
Wow.
Where he was on the line. But look, there was that rumor out in the West Australian. It was, what was that called? That article, that section, Pete?
I heard it on the terrace.
Heard it on the terrace.
Yeah.
That there was a rumor that Elon Musk would be coming to Perth.
If he does, we're all going to be a bunch of screaming girls. So.
Yeah.
No. Actually, look, while you're being far too modest, Elon Musk will be the screaming girl coming to us because we are the center of this universe. Seriously.
I can't see that.
But we'll try and help Elon with curb his enthusiasm as best we can. But yeah, so the earnings call tomorrow. There was a point to that. It's going to feature. Hopefully, one of the questions. Well, I was going to say he probably won't answer it properly, but no doubt that Cybertruck will feature as one of the questions during the earnings call as to its progress. But we already know that Elon's already answered that, and it's going to be midway through next year.
Yeah. Well, he's pushing the Semi too, isn't he, at this stage?
Yeah.
Because they're keen to get that out and running.
Yes, so they've certainly looks like they're preparing for at least the first few production units, if anything, as well, not test units, but early sort of
early production,
ground truthing and ironing out any wrinkles or whatever. But I think a lot of the issue has been with the semiconductor shortage, probably to do with the power electronics. And just the amount of batteries I need to put in, and they're obviously going to be 4680s, and it's a matter of ramping that production at the Cato Road facility and at Giga Texas, which I think is only just starting up as far as battery goes.
Yeah, I think battery's the big thing, but they've got, evidently from what you hear, quite a few running around, even between Tesla places, which are trial vehicles and all that. So I reckon it's looking pretty good. I reckon he's trying to push that. And Pepsi's got 100 or so orders in, I think, as well. There's a few companies with big orders.
Yeah.
Haven't they already had some delivered?
No, I think they were setting up the charging.
They were, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the supercharger. Oh, I just realised I've deleted that image. Oh, maybe
the Mega 4 or
they've actually got the Mega Charger with the version 2 or 3 outlet, which Charin, which is the international standards body, has gone to a V-shaped format. But clearly Tesla can just change that out. But they've already prepared mega chargers for Pepsi. I think it was Pepsi. I think it
was Pepsi.
Yeah. Look, the Tesla Semi is going to be a cracker product. Even if you look back at the reveal, you could basically you could add 500 mile. I think it was 500 miles range in 20 minutes using the mega charger. So in the time it takes for a truckie to basically have their half-hour break, you can have more than enough charge to get to your next half-hour break, mandatory break.
But even for loading and unloading, they're probably an hour. That's ample. And I think the 500-mile one, I think, has a longer charge period, I think.
Yes, that's right, because there was a 300-mile and a 500-mile off the top of my head. But it's and the great thing actually for Australia, a great positive for Australia is once we get over this 2.5 meter limit that we have here and get to a 2.55 or a 2.6 meter width limit, which I'm certain that the government and all the trucking advocates are receptive to, or have a positive attitude to doing that. The great thing is it's got central control, so there is no left-handed, right-handedness. Right-hand drive, it's central control, so it's universal. So,
but I reckon Sydney will struggle with that wider vehicle because some of the lanes, particularly on the north side of the bridge, very narrow.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, even if it's restricted, well, let's say in Sydney to the outer suburbs, a little bit like road trains. You know, they have road train assembly areas.
Yeah, well, they go
30 k's
through
out
on
of
the
Perth.
main.
So
Triple trailers.
yeah, but
They're not
we're
allowed in
talking
past.
we're talking 50
Northern.
millimeters. You know, we're talking 2 inches of extra width.
Well,
compared to
in
the
saying that, the government did change the law when the railway strike was on. The railway wasn't running because of the track got flooded out. The West Australian opened up to triple trailers for the first time with police escorts and coming in. So,
But they merely
can
have
be
to
done.
agree. Yeah, and they merely have to agree to up the width limit to at least 2.55 meters, which is what the semi is, and even preferably to 2.6, which means it opens up more choice for prime movers to be imported into Australia. So, look, it's only a matter of time. It's not a matter of if. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah.
But
Harold, 2.55, is that the width of the actual cap or the mirrors as well?
It's the mirrors, I think. Total width.
Goes from the
No, I
mirrors.
don't-
Yeah, it goes from the mirrors. The mirrors are part
Are
of the
you
truck.
are you certain of that?
Yeah,
I
because
thought
the mirrors are built onto the truck. Most of the new ones are built.
No, yeah, that's right. But
Yeah,
I thought the main impediment was the actual main body, and the mirrors were an accessory within certain other limits. I don't know that. I'm sorry, I really don't know. But
I've seen them
otherwise,
check the width of trailers. Actually, the trailer itself, and if there's even a 2-inch overhang, they ping them for it, but they often measure the actual trailer width.
yes, that's right. So the trailer has to be within 2.5. Otherwise, it's got to be declared as over width, and then have a pilot and
there's all these
and all
kind
that
of funny laws with that shit. It's like when you first build a truck and you put the pilot lights on it, the orange lights. You're not allowed to put them all over the truck. It has to be certified by Main Roads. And once it's been certified, then you can go and cover it in lights galore. But before then, if you do that, then they can ping the truck and say this is not suitable. Even so, it's a safety reason why you have 200 orange lights all over the truck. But they don't get
Some of them are like Christmas trees going down the road.
Oh, those Woolworths ones are
They're
crazy.
fantastic.
Yeah, those Woolworths trucks, you see a lot of those. They're just all over the place. Definitely.
Oh yeah, well, going across Nullarbor, you see them, and it's some are lit up like Christmas trees. It's pretty cool, and it can be useful because I mean, obviously, one thing that a lot of us don't understand is when we've got our high beams on, and we don't dip them until we see the high beams of the truck coming the other way. But of course, their cab is so much higher on a slight hill that they see our high beams blaring in their faces. But we can't tell that unless they've got the highlight lights or bright ones or whatever, and then you can sort of pick it out. But anyway.
According to this article, this is probably old news, Harold, but I'm just reading a submission made by Tesla late last year to the National Transport Commission revealed that the first generation electric heavy truck, the Tesla Semi, was too wide by 34 millimeters under current Australian laws. So, 2.5 meters is the law, and they'll go to 2.55, exactly as you said. So it sounds like Tesla already made that submission. And this article was written on the 29th of March, 2021, and they're referring to last year. So that submission would have been made 2 years ago. So surely in 2 years, they would have been able to get there.
And I think that was a Senate inquiry or that submission was made to a body that was set up by the government to take submissions for the purpose of working out whether you need to widen trucks. And
they refer to it as the National Transport Commission.
Yes, and I think that's an intergovernmental commission. So that's got representatives from all the state transport ministers who had a meeting, and the federal transport minister. And frustratingly, it might have been last year where it was said that they're sort of all in a cooperative mood and they want to progress things along, and that the results of the recommendations were going to be made public shortly, but that was said last year and nothing seems to have happened yet. So it's one of these, it's in progress, but we just don't know when it's going to pop out. but I think there's no one that's really objecting to the extra 50 millimeters, except possibly road safety.
I can't honestly see any human being, a man, would eject to another 50 millimeters. You know, knock me down, but I'll take another 50. No worries.
I'd be happy with another 34 millimeters.
Yeah, exactly. You know, when you can get 54 compared
Are
to
you sure it was
34.
34 millimeters, Pete, or was it 34.69420?
Alrighty, boys. You have a good night. I gotta go.
Yep.
Nap.
I'm going to go to bed
All right,
too.
Paul, take care.
Well, see you guys. I've got to go as well. Good night.
No worries, Jared. Take
Take
care.
Take care, boys. See you all soon.
Have a good week. We'll look forward to seeing you next week.
Definitely.
Speaking of 69.420, I must take a photo of my wife's odometer. It's currently 69,074 kilometres. So it hasn't got very long to go before I get the perfect.
I beat you to it. I beat you to it, Harold.
But I'm gonna list that car on car sales, and it'll be at that odometer reading. Which means if someone buys it and is really enthusiastic as a Tesla, as a fellow Tesla owner, they'll know exactly what it means.
Absolutely.
Dearie me. All right, we're getting a little bit later. Well, what is it? Oh, it's only 10:30. And actually, Russell was going to. He sent his apologies earlier on. He had other commitments, and he did say he might be able to get on by about 10:30. So we might just hang around a couple of minutes. We've got the earnings call. So, Pete, what do you reckon might be the go?
If I knew that, I'd be a richer man. But yeah, sounds like.
I mean, what's the sentiment? So obviously we've had reduced production.
Deliveries. Yeah.
Two gigafactories ramping simultaneously. We've got the Bitcoin impairment.
Yep.
So the earnings per share is going to be sort of a little bit all over the shop. I think
somewhere around $2, I think, is the consensus. Somewhere.
And that's going to be less than last quarter, I think. It
was above. It was what was it? It was a little bit above $2 from memory. Yeah.
So obviously your Gordon Johnson's going to go crazy, going, well, see, we've proven that Tesla's gone past its peak and is going to be broke anytime soon.
He'll finally get on CNBC again. He hasn't been on CNBC for a long time talking about Tesla. So.
Well, tomorrow morning could be the day for him to although I think he actually had I think Rob Mao reported that he had a expected EPS of well over $2, well, $2.20 or $2.30. And it's almost like he's trying to set that up to show that Tesla then missed that mark and therefore are going to go broke very soon.
Tesla often surprises, though. They'll bring out something that meets all the expectations. They're very good at that.
They are, absolutely. They have had their 10% salaried staff reduction, which has actually hit some departments in Tesla in Australia, as a matter of fact. So Australia certainly hasn't been immune, unfortunately.
The narrative that Gordon Johnson has been running, and the reason why he's putting his EPS estimates above consensus, is he's been saying that there's a conspiracy among Wall Street analysts where they're all under forecasting.
Yep.
So they can say it beat estimates and be all bullish about it. And that is generally true. It generally does happen to the tune of 5%, not for Tesla, but for every company, but to the tune of a couple of percent. But I mean, he's like over 10% more. So yeah.
So just fleshing it out a bit, is that because analysts generally want to be conservative and they don't want to be embarrassed by overstating a company's performance, or?
Analysts generally only care about one thing, and that's not being too much of an outlier one way or the other. So they generally all want to be roughly around the pack. They're herd animals. Yep. So, look, it helps everyone in the industry if earnings are seen to be positive and the news media's got positive news to report, because that buoys the market in general, and that means everyone makes more money. So yeah, that's the conspiracy theory behind that. But it's usually to the tune of a few percent. It's not excessive, but I mean he's well and truly over 10%. So.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean the main story is. So go, Pete.
Sorry, I was just saying he's well over 10%, but the other way. So yeah.
Yes, but he's really just trying to set it up to show that Tesla's had another miss, and it's just it's just funny how the short sellers they just keep on dreaming that somehow Tesla will magically go broke and they'll make a lot of money, and all they've done is so far is lose a lot of money, and they just keep doing it.
Well, you mentioned today that Mary Bauer tweeted that. Or reiterated GM's being number one in EVs by 2025.
That's funny. She can tweet that with a straight face, as if she believed it.
Yeah.
Where was it in Q1 or was it Q4 last year? General Motors sold 26 EVs, and one of them was a Hummer, which apparently she actually bought herself. So she bought the sorry, she the CEO or the chair?
CEO.
CEO. So the CEO bought the one Hummer that they built and will probably never drive it. And there were 25 odd Bolts that were sold before the big recall or after the big recall or whatever it was. And yet so they
it was Q4 last year.
Q4 last year.
Yep.
So they're at less than a 10% run rate of Tesla, and yet by 2025 they think they're going to beat Tesla.
Well, I love how VW thinks it's going to beat Tesla, GM thinks it's going to beat Tesla, everyone thinks they're going to beat Tesla. No one's saying we're going to beat VW or we're going to beat GM. So it just tells you who the king is, where the benchmark is. So.
Well, I think the others are going to be in a lot of strife. Well, I think they're already in strife. Some of them have struggled to exist. And I heard something the other day about Toyota's in dire straits as well. And how the Toyota is so locked into the Japanese government. But also they've had a lot of problems with paint. Their paint's just falling off their cars. That's an issue for them too.
Actually, it's funny, Pete. It was like what's that saying? Oh, what appealing! But it's funny. We shouldn't be too hard on Toyota, because I've actually got an excellent manual Hyundai i20 that's about 5 or 6 years old, and it was a white. It wasn't a poverty pearl white, but it was a poverty white car. And it literally had sheets of its white paint coming off the grey primer in sheets.
That's what's happening with Toyota. I reckon it's the primer. There's something wrong with the primers.
Yep. It's not allowing the paint the top coat to bond. Yep. And it's probably because of limits of volatile organic compounds and all the environmental regulations they have to try and pass.
Yeah.
Obviously compromise the product.
It complies, but it doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I guess you could have safety matches that don't light because you don't want them to catch fires spontaneously, but it renders them useless. But those car manufacturers, all they've got is a world of pain, because they've got all these billions of dollars of sunk costs into all these factories that aren't suitable for producing EVs.
Well, just look at the machine shops that are churning out these internal combustion engines. Those people are going to be left high and dry soon.
How do you write off all that?
To some extent they can adjust to electric, but that's a big change anyway, massive change.
Absolutely.
Hey, can I make a comment?
Welcome, Russell. So welcome.
Showed up a bit late.
I'm just trying to get the internet connection to work. It took me that long to get it up. Sorry.
He's straight into it. Hey?
You should have had Starlink, Russell. You should have gotten Starlink.
Anyway, so my addition to that is what is somewhat misunderstood as well is the requirement for support of the current, I guess, generation of ICE engines that needs to be maintained, and telling a distributor that, hey, we're not going to buy any engines from you, but you've got to still keep making parts to service these vehicles that are going to be on the road for another 15 years.
Yep.
How is that going to be a sustainable business model for them? And the cost associated with those automakers keeping those companies afloat is actually going to be tremendously more expensive than what's, I guess, I don't know, people are actually thinking. It's just, oh, we'll just stop making them. Well, you can't just stop making them because it's
You're obliged to
a
support.
commissioning process, which is very extravagant. I read an article about when I think it was GM decommissioned some engine that was only manufactured for 2 years or something, and it was something like 2,500 engines were manufactured, and it cost them over, I think it was $2 million every year just to provide support for 2,000 engines. It was just ridiculous, you know. So if you look at the scale of the number of engines out there at the moment, that's small change compared to what they're going to be dealing with, the multi-million off engines. So it's not like and it's stranded assets too. So on their balance sheets at the moment, they've got, oh yeah, we've got, X $1 million worth of assets on our books. Someone else can buy these robots from us for whatever dollar amount they reckon, but realistically, they're worth squat. They're worth negative because no one's going to want them. You can't sell them. They're probably good for scrap. That's about it.
And the thing is, they're actually surprisingly long-lived assets. There was a great interview that Sandy Munro did, the tour or visit he did at the IDRA Gigapress manufacturers, and they were explaining that, the tooling that they make, these gigapresses, they're designed to last for decades. And one of the great features is you can then change the main die receptacle and reconfigure it and all that sort of stuff. So they're very expensive, but very long-lived assets. And like you say, Russell, if you've got all these engine head and crankshaft machining tools and robots and all that sort of stuff, well, you've just got to write them off entirely. And it's going to make their books look messy, no matter how they try and slice it.
And in our position where we are geographically in Australia, it's just going to make things, you think someone like a Ford or a GM, if they're really struggling and they have to, they have no choice, they've got to seize the support in some jurisdictions. The Australias, the New Zealands, they're going to be the first ones they cut because they're the furthest away. You've got the bigger shipping costs, you've got low volumes. So you've got to,
We've got the most models of almost any jurisdiction in the world. So the spread of complexity of the spare parts they need to keep. And if they then have to shut down the factories that are producing those parts, they've got to warehouse them somewhere. And it's just a nightmare.
And a lot of these parts, some of them may get used. Some of them might have to sit there for 5 years before they get used, and others might need to be manufactured just in case they're needed, and they may never be put into a car. So on some of the parts, you'll never get your money back. So
yeah, and I think it was the ACT's. I'm just trying to scroll back through the news. Where he basically said that, the next step, the ACT is not just banning the registration of new ICE vehicles by 2035. Shane Rattenbury also said that we're not going to take vehicles off the road, but we want to stop new petrol vehicles coming into the system to stop the problem getting worse. But then he goes, then we can focus on transitioning those older vehicles out. So I guess, that could be a savior to the ICE companies, where if governments decide to have a buyback scheme, an early buyback scheme.
They're already doing exactly that in New Zealand.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, They've announced exactly that.
So that's the only saving grace. Ironically, that will actually save a lot of the ice manufacturers because it then takes all the parts liability off their books.
Yep.
You know, if all the fleet can get deregistered and decommissioned earlier than expected.
Yep.
You know, what you said before around holding the parts and whatnot. I haven't thought about this before, but when the horses started getting replaced with cars, did the cost of shoeing a horse or buying feed or saddles or whatever the hell goes into a horse go up as more vehicles were around? Is that the same sort of similar situation that might happen with ICE vehicles when there's more EVs? Like, will it become like a luxury thing? I don't know how much it costs to have a horse, but would the comparable cost now be more expensive than back in the 20s?
The interesting statistic, though, Russell, is now there's more horses than there were at the turn of the century.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but it's more like, is the cost of ownership of a horse disproportionately higher now than it would have been back then?
It's a good question.
Like, is ICE vehicles still going to exist, but it's like a luxury thing? Like, oh yeah, I need to change my oil. Oh, fucking hell, it's going to cost me $5,000. Yeah, like, no.
The thing is that the oil price won't go up through the roof because oil is not an expensive. I mean, you can get synthetic oil,
demand would much lower, so I guess
and you've also got machinery that still relies on oils, like conventional machinery. So that's
and plastics and all sorts of
yeah. But I
fertilizer.
think your question was alluding to. Look, there wasn't a guaranteed. There was no horses weren't manufactured, so there was no. Unlike ICE cars or all cars, where manufacturers are obliged to provide parts and the method to maintain those assets for a guaranteed period or minimum period. I guess horses, any farrier can shoe a horse and
build a saddle or bridle or whatever.
Yeah, and look, maybe as cars became more and more popular and less farriers had work to do, look, maybe the cost of shoeing a horse went down because, or at least in more populated areas, because there was a surplus of farriers compared to horses. But maybe in a country town, once the farrier sort of stopped farrying because he got another job because he went broke because there were no horses to shoe, and you had the one horse in a country town, well, maybe you had to pray through the nose to get someone to drive their Model T to your town because
So
as
having
services withdraw as
almost like a petrol station in the middle of the bush might be very serviceable now because there's hundreds of trucks going through every day, versus a petrol station in 15 years' time with one truck every week or whatever that's still petrol.
Yeah, I mean, look at LPG. So LPG had its popularity or great popularity in the early to mid 90s, and then it sort of crescendoed with Ford when they used the Sarich, the orbital engine, orbital, I forget what they're called, orbital technologies or whatever. They did a direct injection liquid LPG direct injection system, and Ford, I actually had one of their cars. It was called Eco LPG, and it was the best of all worlds. It directly injected liquid LPG into your cylinder, so it was a nice cold charge and very efficient. But that was sort of the zenith of LPG, and then none of the other manufacturers did conversions or did dual fuel cars or whatever. Petrol companies or petrol stations are now pulling out LPG tanks, and the price went from 30 cents a litre to not much cheaper than petrol, and that's a liability. And if you had an old LPG car, you got to do almost worse than EVs to find a place where you can fuel it if it was a single use, like dedicated LPG. So it's becoming a liability. And you're right, Russell, eventually, I mean, just around the corner from my place, BP has completely dug up all the old tanks, and in fact they've demolished the whole site on Manning Road and redeveloped it, but effectively cloned it, like replaced it with the same stuff. and mind you, no EV charging either. But they've put in two new tanks, which probably cost a fortune.
Are they fuel tanks? They're a
They are
funny
fuel.
look. I can't work out what it is. They
No,
got
they were
massive
two
power
two
cut.
underground fuel tanks. Yep.
Someone
Oh.
asked me the other day, they were like, I said, well, the fuel stations are going to be a thing of the past. Like, no one's going to use them. They go, oh, bullshit. Like, they're going up everywhere. There's just been like 2 stations near me. I'm like, yeah, mate, when the iPhone came out, Nokia was still producing phones left, right, and center, but didn't mean that they were going to last very much longer than.
Exactly.
It's almost like
still don't
you're
understand
so
that.
blinded by, hey, we need it right now. And you're just building obsolescence essentially.
But Russell, I don't know this for certain, but I surmise that the biggest money spinner for a petrol station is the foodie bit, where they sell a litre of milk for twice the price of a supermarket because it's an opportunistic buy, or a Mars bar, or a coffee, or a pie, or whatever. It's a side hustle. Yeah, that's right. If you open at 11 p.m. on, that's right. So it's the side hustle. It's, since you're here buying petrol because you have to, you might as well buy this opportunistic stuff that costs far too much money, and that's the real money spinner.
The engagement of an EV driver in the same scenario,
Vastly more.
dollars per hour sort of situation, is you're there for 15 minutes instead of 2 minutes.
Yes.
And you're engaged with advertising, like product, potentially services as well. Oh yeah, can wash your car when it's charging, or you want a back massage or a nails done, or all those sorts of things are now available because that engagement period is, because I watched, there's a show Gruen. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of that show, but yeah, they did one a few weeks ago where they were talking about some of the most highly expensive, profitable advertising is the captive person filling up their car at a Bowser with a TV screen showing ads. That's one of the most expensive ads you can buy on a fuel Bowser, because you're essentially a captive audience. You can't go anywhere. You're filling up and you're looking right there. You got no other choice.
You're bored and you don't want to look at the price because that's depressing. So you look at the screen to get.
Instead of saying like 2 Mars bars, $2 or whatever with your petrol, you're like, and you go in and you buy 2 Mars bars, right? Having that sort of engagement for, I don't know, a longer, potentially 5 times as long, I don't know what the average is going to be, but longer. The amount of revenue that could be generated from advertising and services and whatnot in that same period of time, I think that would be the business model that needs to be had to attract ROI on setting up charging infrastructure.
But Russell, that won't. Yeah, we won't be sitting there waiting for our cars to charge. Where that's all that's going to be captured by Tesla, and it's going to be captured in the screens of the cars while they're self-driving you, and you won't be. They'll be going to charge themselves, or they'll have the Snake charger solved by then, or what have you, or it'll be the Shepherd, that shepherds his fleet of 10 Tesla that does all that. You'll just call your car, you'll get into it, but they'll have that captive audience for 40 minutes while the car's stuck in traffic.
That's sort of true. That's sort of true, Pete. But there was, I think it's in South Australia, where you can get free charging, but it's basically a digital billboard. So the actual charger unit itself has a LCD, screen on it.
Yeah.
It's a billboard, but you can also charge there for free, I believe. That's because they were going to be the dual benefit of car charger and billboard.
Yes, it's Jolt that are doing them.
Yes.
Yeah. It's an interesting business model, but you would think it's a business model that relies on there not being robo-taxis. But as soon as you have robo-taxis...
So would you envisage that if you were after a product, not necessarily a service, that would be pre-ordered when you're in the car to say, I want 2 hamburgers and 3 chips or whatever, and you would eat that inside your car rather than actually going inside the place that it's...
Absolutely.
It's a great application, Russell. Imagine if you, from the touchscreen, and the thing is, those companies would pay Tesla. In fact, oh my God, Tesla is like Apple. I mean, we already know it is. But because they have control of the visibility of the touchscreen, they could then say to anyone that wanted to sell their product locally, like say you're charging at a location, and then because it's geofenced, the screen says, well, you can buy this, and you could order from the shop in the comfort of your car and have it delivered to your driver's side window, whatever you wanted.
Or have deals
Take a
to make
clip of
people
that.
go to their charger, like get 5 cents off a kilowatt hour if you make an in-store purchase or something, or
Exactly, and
10% off your burgers if
the
you
people could come out and bring the burger to you at a discount, but then Tesla could get a clip, a commission off either each transaction, just like Apple does.
Mm.
You know, and they could offer, like Apple, if whatever that benefit is free, whatever that might be, there's no commission. But if you make money out of it, such as selling something, they want a small commission. And imagine that the car is just a method of getting the screen in front of you to desire to buy something, and for Tesla to make a commission out of
because
it.
you don't have to concentrate on the road anymore. You're engaging with either work or pleasure, essentially. Like you're either there on your laptop finishing some emails, or you're watching a movie, or you're being shot up with, I don't know, potentially their business model might be you pay $10 a month for the premium subscription, or in all your robotaxi rides, you have to watch advertising. So if you pay $10 subscription, you get to watch Netflix or whatever you want. But if you don't, you got to watch our ads. And that's
like YouTube
that's
Premium, like YouTube Premium, you pay whatever it is a month to stop the ads.
Yeah.
But don't forget also, Russell, a lot of people get motion sickness if they're looking at their phones or their laptops while the car's moving. So a lot of people won't do that. They won't be on their laptop, they won't be on their phone. So they'll just be sitting there, looking at the traffic and, or looking at the screen and then looking at the traffic and looking back at the screen. So, I mean, and you'll have these people for the, length of the journey. So, it could be 20 minutes, not the 2 or 3 minutes it takes to fill up. I mean, this is another huge revenue stream to Tesla down the road.
If we had a robo-taxi, we might be able to choose to put ads on our robo-taxi and make money.
Yeah?
A bit like taxis do when they put the ad on the boot of, I don't know if they still do that anymore, but they'll put a billboard or whatever, a thing on the back.
The pack of Winnie Blues, yeah.
That's right. So that could be another side hustle that Tesla, again, could take a clip of. They could take, and it seems that American companies customarily take a 30% cut. So if you make $1 on whatever it is, that Tesla will take 30 cents, which is another income stream for them. That those possibilities are endless because it no longer becomes a car.
And the interesting thing is, and this is where, it's very hard to outdo Wall Street by trying to trade short term. But this is where retail investors really have an edge because a fund manager has to trade to post results at the end of the quarter, whereas we can afford to hold our shares with the expectation of a revenue stream for advertising in a robo-taxi. A fund manager can't even talk about that. So
your Tesla bot spits out some advertising before it serves you dinner.
Yeah.
This meal is proudly brought to you by Kraft or whatever it's going to be like.
But imagine how customized that advertising is going to be because that bot knows what you had for breakfast, what you had for lunch.
Yeah,
it knows
here's Metamucil. You're going to eat it. You're having 3 steaks this week.
Yeah.
But what if the bot, the standard bot as you pay for it, creates an average dinner, but you could pay a bit extra to get like a MasterChef version of the same thing. So it could
almost like when you're putting battery packs in Model Ys which are software restricted, so that it's capable of doing more, but it's restricted to only serve your 3-star meals instead of 5-star meals. Purposely burn it a bit or put extra salt in there just to piss you off.
Yeah, or it doesn't cut the onions as fine as it should. So but it's funny because we're only just like throwing stuff in the air, but there'll be someone somewhere in the world who'll go, you can make money out of that, and that's added value. Like it's
Yeah.
literally a
And the extension of that is if Neuralink becomes accessible to everybody, then the engagement with the whole Teslaverse will be far more integrated, where you could think that you need to go somewhere to have a hamburger, rather than having to enter on a pad or whatever, you could arrive and it would be there.
You wouldn't even have to think, Russell. You would just feel hungry, and that would be enough. You know, that would be enough for, and you know, just you feeling hungry would test, you know, and the body would already be cutting up the onion.
Or it could be, I've decided I want to lose 5 kilos of weight or whatever. So you think about your home son eats, like, you're not getting it because you got to lose 5 kilos. You'll get the salad, not the.
But actually, the bot could be like Google. You know how Google knows what you're going to Google before even you do now. So, you know, the bot will know before you get hungry. So he'll start chopping up the onions, and then it will be like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You'll start getting hungry because you'll have the association of hearing the onions being chopped in the kitchen. It'll be like a feedback loop.
So then ultimately all we need to do is upload our brains to the Tesla bot server and just live out our whole lives virtually.
Yeah, the Matrix.
Perfect.
Yeah. So do you reckon that I can coin Teslaverse to rival Zuckerberg's metaverse, or?
I dare say, without risk, like this video will be published in a couple of hours. I don't think you have to worry about. Oh man, that last one was terrible. Let's just say I had cause to have to edit the video, and that literally broke. It basically broke YouTube, and YouTube handled it badly, to be perfectly honest. I think even now it doesn't really play properly. It I'm not naming any names, and it's YouTube handled it very badly, and even now that 100th episode is still at 720 p instead of 1080, and it plays really weirdly. Like a lot of people, when they go to play it, you just have to wait 30 seconds, and it eventually starts playing, and then it's fine. But don't try and skip ahead and do stuff, because then it breaks again, and it's just been a nightmare. But anyway, but yeah. So Russell, this will be published with those words that come out of your lips. But yeah, Tesla. So what'd you say?
Teslaverse.
Teslaverse. No doubt, 1,000 people have already tweeted that out as a hashtag or something. So
okay.
yeah, I don't think you need to rush off to the AIPO and try and register that as a trademark. I think that ship sailed a long time ago. But it effectively is going to be a Teslaverse, because that's the other bit of news I didn't bother to add. But Elon Musk has reiterated his intention to produce Tesla air conditioning for houses.
No, wasn't it? Well, I thought he announced it was tanning cream, wasn't it? Wasn't it like spray tan he was going to do next?
No, I didn't. I don't think I heard that one.
Haven't you seen the photos from Mykonos? Free the net?
No.
Can you just Google? Just do it here. You'll be fine. Just Google. So Elon Musk replied to a tweet just recently saying, "Damn, I should take my shirt off more often. Free the nip." Have you seen that post? No. He's in Mykonos with one of his buddies on a cruise ship, and he's down to his shorts. It's very.
Right, I'm getting. Oh, right. Let me.
So that's why I thought spray tan was the next big thing.
Right.
First Tesla.
He needs tanning cream. That's going to be all. That's right. Okay, I'm going to put up as a screen share. So, just I think it's Big Clive. Sometimes when he adjusts the contrast ratio, like he turns a light on or off, he says, "Just beware of your eyes because you might get blinded." So, with that warning there, here is Elon Musk in Mykonos. So yes, Elon does need to get a tan. I don't think he gets out enough into the sun because he's always working. But there you go.
There's a few photos there if you want to scroll through them, Harold.
Oh, okay. I'll dare do it live. So let's have a. Oh, there we go. There's another one. Oops. Oh, why is that? Go away. That one. Right. He also needs to. I think he needs to have a couple of salads there, Russell.
So the funniest bit was his tweet. People were trying to pay him out, and he's just like, "Damn, I look good without a shirt."
Well, you know what? When you're worth $250 billion, I think a lot of people would find him attractive enough, just quietly. Deary me.
So, yeah, so apparently that's been prioritised over the HVAC. So
right, gotcha. So the automated spray tan booth. Right. Couldn't you surely come up with some tattoo ink that you could just permanently do that ends
I think it's going to come out of the HVAC. So it just, yeah.
Just finds any white object and just clings onto it.
Yeah. They're having trouble with the white interiors at the moment, so it's still a work in progress. They couldn't distinguish between him and the seats; they were so white.
I was going to say, because I mean, I think Pete, you find the cream interior quite attractive for Model X's. I went the all white interior, so maybe there's like a conversion process. You could have a tanning process and perhaps a bleaching process. So on average, every seat could look the same.
He sat on a white interior without a shirt on, and he camouflaged himself straight in there. No one knew where he was for a couple of hours. So,
well, there you go. But that was a long segue to the So the more economically viable product would be the Tesla aircon, which he did say would have great filtration and be efficient. And really, Tesla need to do that, and also if they can solve refrigeration and have it linked. So because a house has got things that need to be hot and things that need to be cold, and if you could just join all of that together in like have the octavalve, so your fridge can produce heat for your hot water and cool for the inside of it and whatever. So just keep moving the heat around in the most efficient fashion, which means your house would effectively be a Tesla house.
And going forward over the next 10 or 20 years, there's going to be a massive market for HVAC, because like we've seen in this summer in Europe, they're absolutely frying over there at 40-degree temperatures, and it's like 1 in 10 houses has aircon in the UK, but they're going to need aircon there now. And how many houses in Australia have got central heating or any
None.
sort of none.
They need to grow a couple of trees over there. It's all building. They got no trees.
Yeah. Well, actually, in Vienna, there's a one of the suburbs is close to their rubbish. They've got a furnace that basically burns rubbish and converts it to electricity. And part of that process, it also produces hot water and exports that down the street as reticulated hot water. And you effectively have like a water meter into your house, or it's really a block of flats. And they just meter the water flow as your consumption of heat, because in those old-fashioned water heaters, radiant heaters. No, what do they call it?
Radiators.
The radiators. You actually have like a valve where you restrict the hot water flow to moderate your temperature, in your house. In summer, they've actually gone reverse cycle, and they actually pump chilled water to cool those houses that have got the heating system, which is like a bit of a bonus. But yeah, you're right, Pete. There's most places in Europe, yes, they have effective heating, but they've got zero cooling.
And the cost of installing a reverse cycle system compared to a pure heat only is very negligible.
Yes.
Like it's nothing in the scheme of things, but their mindset isn't set up the same as what ours is here because we've got those extremes, I suppose. Well, I mean, not cold extremes, but the heat extreme. And no one will, I guess, evaporative air conditioners is the equivalent in Australia where it just does one thing, but it's
and
not
badly.
Because the heat pump now it doesn't require much tweaking to make it do hot and cold. Like it's just the other way around, and so it's nonsensical installing something brand new now that's not hot and cold in some of these places.
Yeah, and up until recently, the argument has been, well, heat pumps, air source heat pumps, which are air cons as far as we know them, don't work very effectively below zero because they ice up and all that sort of stuff. But they've now got the technology where there's actually a YouTube channel called Technology Connections.
Yeah,
and he's very good. I think he's in Chicago or somewhere like that.
That's right. Yeah.
Great channel, highly recommend it. And he has done a few deep dives into HVAC, and there are many air conditioners coming out now that can. He quotes it in Fahrenheit, which is a bit awkward, but it's like they work effectively as low as minus 15 Celsius. Which
I think it's negative 20. Negative 20.
It might be negative 20.
Yeah.
And it doesn't actually matter if they're not as efficient at negative 20 because they're vastly more efficient than a gas burner. You know, so you're right, and Pete, you're right too, because air conditioning is going to be a big issue, and a burgeoning product that all of Europe's going to need that they never thought they had to.
But even countries like China, that's becoming increasingly urbanized, then wild temperature swings over there, and not to mention Africa or some of the other India. Yeah.
And there might be opportunities to. I mean, I don't know whether houses will ever go DC, because there might be advantages to that, because you don't need to then have inverters and have a bit of wastage of energy, because maybe most houses in general will be self-supporting with some input from the grid. So maybe it might be more efficient to go full circle and go from DC, which Edison did, to Westinghouse and Tesla, Nikola Tesla's AC. Maybe houses will go, for local reticulation of energy, go back to DC because it might be more efficient.
Would make sense, yeah.
And then Tesla will be all over that because they've got all that technology.
Mm-hmm.
So
you can charge your car directly DC to DC. You could go solar direct DC.
Exactly.
It's all your appliances, isn't it? It's like a huge change in everyday appliance use because everything's not made for that, is it? Like you've either got to put some sort of at the spot converter, like your television, for example, it needs AC, unless you have some sort of AC converter before it plugs in.
Actually, TVs are different now. That most TVs, I mean, we went from CRTs where you needed high voltage, we went to plasmas where you also needed high voltage, to now almost all TVs are either effectively LCD, liquid crystal display with a LED backlight, which they call LED TVs, but they're just an LCD with a LED backlight. And now they've got OLED, which is effectively organic LEDs, which are all low voltage. So TVs have gone low voltage. I mean, microwave ovens are probably still, they're still high voltage, but I mean, they've probably got switch mode power supplies doing the high voltage. I'm not exactly sure. But all your LEDs, all your LED lighting is low voltage, but you've got almost every light has its own little switch mode power supply, which is not as efficient as running it perhaps on 48 volts DC or something. Or even if it's 200 volts DC or 400 volts DC, it might be more efficient. But anyway, so what else do we expect tomorrow for the earnings call? I mean, I guess it's
before you do that, I think there's a photo of you I spotted on the news, Harold, or maybe it's Pete. If you want to just click that link, I've put in the chat there. I couldn't figure out who it was. One of you guys talking about car clubs.
Right. I was going to say, yeah, it doesn't look like my Model X just quietly. So it could be a Model 3. You never quite know. You
So
never
is this
know.
our car club, or we should be aware of this, or who are we?
Oh,
dubbing
look,
in?
I can declare now that Tokwa neither confirms nor denies anything that might be put in on the tabloid media. Russell. Oh dear. Well, I tell you what, it's actually past Pete's. Oh, I'm so sorry, Pete. I just remembered that you're going to be up before the market closes, so you can get Tesla's report just after earnings report after market close.
4 a.m.
When is that? 4 a.m.
It'll be like 10 minutes past 4 or quarter past 4. Or, yeah, just after.
Okay. So I think that might be a good time to bring these proceedings to a rapid end. Oh, we got a Ken. Oh, that's the other Ken. That's cool. Thanks, Ken, for joining us, and Nigel coming back, and Richard's still lurking in the background. Either that or he's in the depths of unconsciousness. But so, Pete, this is our 101th episode.
But you can call it.
Richard's coming back. I see Richard activity. Oh no, he decided against it.
On
Oh
the
no, he's coming
thumbnail,
back.
Harold, you can just put a picture of a Dalmatian for the 101th if you want.
Why didn't I do that, Russell? Now you see. I mean, mate, you could have told me that 3 hours ago. Anyway, okay. So, Pete, how would you round out an awesome show like this?
As always, stay safe, stay sustainable, stay ahead of the curve.
The best way to do that is buy a Tesla, join Tokwa, and ask us anything about accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy. On that note, take care, everyone. Get up early or not. It's going to be exciting either way, and we look forward to seeing you next week on Ask Us Anything. Take care, everyone. Good night.
Good night, all.
Night all.
Cheers.